YouTube stream didn't go live for some reason. Huh. Why would that be? Oh no, it says I am live. Let's see. Oh no, it says I am live. Yeah, okay. All right, I think it's working now. I don't know why it still says upcoming. Sorry, I'm trying to like schedule my live streams before I go live so that you guys like can see them, and then I try to like use that scheduled live stream to like make it work, and it seems like that didn't work today. So we're gonna delete. We've got like some old like upcoming live streams that the date is like passed on. I don't like how YouTube, you have to like create an event to go live. All right, I am live now though. I believe. You can shout if you're in here in YouTube. I don't know why that wasn't working at first. All right, I think we're good. Does this say that I'm good? Yeah, but it just started. It just said I started 90 seconds ago. I've been live for like 15 minutes. All right, thanks, Quiet Gamer. I have been talking to myself for 15 minutes or so. All right, we're good. I don't know what the hell happened. So we're gonna talk a whole lot about, I'm calling this one the death of the anonymous internet. I think that's like a pretty good way to describe what's going on. You probably, spoiler alert, forgot to change my screen. You saw the story we're going to start with being the Discord story, but we're kind of seeing this flurry of governments and corporations kind of racing to basically de-anonymize all of our internet accounts. And that's some bullshit. So, not into it. And we're going to talk about why I'm not into it. We're going to talk about Section 230 and how that relates to this whole thing. So I kind of want to just spend a bunch of time talking about this topic in general. And then we can kind of go from there. I'm pulling up a few other news stories while we go, because I'm going to stream for a long time today. I just want to get a bunch of stuff going on. What else? Threats to defense. Google Threat Intel blog. I pretty much always pull these up if they're going to do something. All right. Well, I guess we could just start. We can start with Discord, and then I can grab more stories later. All right, I gotta close Slack. People just will not stop talking to me. Who saw this one? What anonymous threat? So this is the first one we're going to talk about. This is like how we're going to kick off the story. I'm going to try to wrap my head around the story I want to tell here, and then I'll probably record a actual video for YouTube while I'm live. But this is like one of the reasons why this is like a main topic today. Is Discord announced they were already doing this in the UK and Australia, because Australia, let's pull up a few of those things. Australia has like been one of the forefronts of, they're calling it the Online Safety Amendment Act. Let's pull up the Wikipedia on that. So this is one of the things that spurred all of this, right, is Australia is basically saying, hey, we don't want social media bad, social media really bad for kids. I don't think death of the anonymous internet. Oh yeah. Anonymous threat. No. Anonymous meaning the word anonymous, not the hacker group anonymous. So I get really passionate about this topic, so I'm probably going to go all over the place. When these governments want to latch on to something that just sounds obvious and something that we can agree upon, like social media bad, social media making teenagers depressed, social media making young girls like hurt themselves and hate themselves and all of this kind of stuff. We all latch onto that and go, well, yeah, like that is bad. The phones are the problem, right? And I don't think anyone like disagrees, which is, I think, why this is gaining steam and people are like celebrating this, right? Is like protect the kids. Exactly. So the thing that I try to remind everyone when it comes to this stuff, especially when it comes to online privacy and encryption, is if they're chipping away at your rights and your freedoms, your rights to privacy, just any sort of notching up of the surveillance state. And with the other hand, they're saying we're doing this to protect the children. That should set your alarm bells off, okay? Because who is going to be on the other side of the argument of, no, I don't want to protect the children, right? So that's what they're betting against, and their bet is paying off right now. Australia and the UK are kind of the two top governments pushing a lot of this, right? Yeah, you got this book, The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. Honestly, like decent book, understand what's going on. I think drawing a lot of conclusions of like all of society's ills can be traced back to the birth of Facebook is probably a bit reductive, but I think we can all kind of agree that net negative on mental health of our youth and just as a society, right? So coming upon that and saying, well, yeah, like we know a lot of people who are worse off because of social media. So therefore, we're going to draw this line in the sand and say anyone under 16, because these like particularly formidable 14 and 15-year-olds should not be running all over the site. The algorithms are just not built for their developing brains, right? Actually, those algorithms are built for their developing brains for the exact wrong reasons, right? They're pushing body dysmorphia, they're pushing diets, they're pushing all sorts of weird stuff on those developing brains, right? The issue being, once you kind of hide under, like behind this veil of like protect the kids, how? Well, now that's when you get to, well, you're going to have to like verify your age in order to access information on the internet, right? So I could go to Z. There's a bunch of things to talk about there. One, a lot of these sites, their main core competency is not let's collect a bunch of personal information about our users and protect that like to the utmost degree, right? So I saw someone say this is what happens when you give unregulated companies access to all this information. And I think that's the wrong way to phrase it, but I understand what they're saying, right? They're saying like banks and stuff are heavily regulated, so they have to operate with such care of information. They cannot move fast and break things like Facebook's mantra, right? It's like the antithesis of working in a heavily regulated like financial environment. Because if they move fast and break things, your paycheck doesn't clear on Friday and the economy like starts to spiral. So that's what people think of when they think of like heavily regulated environments. And so when they're saying like, oh, we're forcing, Discord to do this, and like, oh, look, we're forcing unregulated companies to store our private information. I get the parallel you're drawing because, okay, banks have to operate under such scrutiny that the level of, care of our information is so much higher. But this isn't like, that's the wrong phrasing, right? Because what's going on right here is regulation, right? Discord is doing this because of regulation. So to go and say the problem is that they are unregulated and therefore cannot protect our information, right, is the incorrect way to say it, right? The regulation is the thing causing this. Section 230 is our benefit. Yeah, but we're going to get to 230. I've got a bunch of tabs open. Out of curiosity, what are your thoughts on bipartisan support for repealing Section 230? People seem to be split. I'm not sure where I stand. Oh, no. I'm definitely sure where I'm stand. I have 4 tabs open about Section 230. It doesn't even come up in this story at all, but it's like highly related, right? So we're talking about it this week because of this story, but this has been a long time coming, right? These platforms are pulling out of states, they're pulling out of countries that are forcing them to do this because of regulations. So I just don't want people to kind of, I saw it a bit online today, right? Or yesterday, that people were kind of going in the direction of, well, we're expecting too much security from these unregulated social media websites. It's like, guys, this is the regulation. So like some magic regulation word just saying like, oh, we need to regulate them so that they can protect this further is not the solution, right? So that's why I just kind of like, hey, don't go down that path, because it, I don't mean to go all like, and I this is not in line with my beliefs that like, oh, we need to go all like anarchist libertarian on stuff and all regulation is bad. That's not where I'm going. But in this case, like regulating the social media companies is not the savior, right? That's what's causing the problems. Is people in government are like, oh, we need age verification, so you must all do this, right? Saying people above a certain age are the only ones that should be able to access this information on the internet is what says this, right? So, all right. Is anyone? We should talk about this story. I kind of went right into it. We're gonna assume that you haven't heard this story yet. We're gonna go into it, right? So Discord, because of the UK and Australia's laws about who can access certain content, started doing this age verification thing in those locales, right? So if you're in the UK or in Australia, you would get hit with some of this age verification steps to access whatever is considered adult content on Discord's platform, right? People hear adult content and they hear like porn or something like that. It's not necessarily the case, right? So again, one of the reasons that this all goes down is because nobody wants to be on the person sitting on the side of the table not protecting children from porn, right? And no one wants to be like the defend porn guy, right? And so here's where we end up with all of these things. But like as people start to loosely define what is adult content, right? Or obscene material or anything like that, guess what? All social media sites are like filled with this stuff, explicit language, totally. And who's to define what is explicit and what's adult, right? I don't want the government deciding that. I don't want Discord deciding that, right? So like this is where it starts to get out of hand. So because they implemented this in the UK and Australia, they just announced this week that they are doing a phased global rollout of this. I'm guessing that this is because Discord sees the writing on the wall of other governments are going to kind of bring this in, and they don't want to operate differently based on locale. The other thing is like VPNs, make your locale irrelevant. It's really hard for you as a company, as a social network, to determine definitely where your users are physically sitting and then treat them differently based on their locale's laws, right? So we're going to bring it up. Man, this story just gets bigger and bigger. So we're going to bring it up that like they're trying to ban VPNs too because of this. man, every topic that I just brought up, the EFF has an article about it. It's so funny. So I didn't actually mean to do this, but the EFF is like 4 of the tabs that we're going to go through. 1984. Yeah, Big Brother. Issue with policy is pretty broad when it's considered adult content. Yeah. So the issue being that, okay, they did it in the UK and Australia. If you're in the UK and Australia, you just do a VPN and then you're not physically there, and then you can access the information that you want. The problem being when all of these things start tipping into a global rollout, and that there is no like, oh, I'm just going to VPN into blank country or state, and then I'm going to be able to access, finally, I'll be able to access the free internet, right? That's not an actual solution, right? So this is saying the majority of users will likely have to undergo Discord's age estimation process. Most users will only need to verify their ages once, Discord said, but some users may be asked to use multiple methods. So this happened. This has already started happening in those couple countries. And back in October, some hackers compromised the third-party company that Discord used for age verification, and they were able to steal the government IDs of 70,000 users, right? You saw this with like the T dating app. Who remembers the T dating app? Where it was like, oh, we're going to not allow anonymous access to our dating service, so you have to upload your ID. Well, guess what? They were just storing that in some random unprotected storage bucket on the cloud. What up, Low Level? Everyone go follow Low Level. He's better than me at everything. They're all coming from VPNs eventually. Yep, we're going to get to all of that. So back in October, this is not even hypothetical, right? So like usually when I'm talking against the age verification stuff and storing of government IDs, I'm saying it in a hypothetical sense of, hey, random porn website number 43 is not equipped to store that kind of information, right? That's not their core competency. Their core competency is like high fidelity streaming video and like availability and all this kind of stuff. They're not like out here like, yeah, I know how to store all this information securely. And then even the companies, take that aside, right? That's usually my hypothetical is like, I don't want to be giving my ID to a bunch of different disparate random websites who then have to figure out how to do security better, even though that's not their main thing, in order to give me access to information that should be free anyway. First of all. Second of all, this Discord was using a company that was supposed to be their core competency, right? They were using a third-party identity verification tool. You would think that their core competency would be collect, verify, and then securely delete all of this sensitive information that we're doing, but they didn't. They were storing it. They didn't immediately delete it, and so hackers accessed it, and they were able to steal 70,000 Discord users' government IDs. Discord, of course, downplayed this, said this is just a fraction of our user base in just a few different countries because we had to comply with local laws. But then, what did we say then? Yeah, for now, and then here we are, proven right, that they're going to like go global with all of this kind of stuff. Which tool? I don't even know. I don't even know. Discord doesn't even use it anymore. We can go back to the story in October. What was the company that was hacked? Third-party customer service providers, the unauthorized access. Discord cut off the unnamed vendor's access. So we don't know. We don't know. They didn't say the name of the vendor that they were using. There's only a handful of them out there right now, though, right? Wait, what? And so Pornhub, which said 2 weeks ago that it would block access to people trying to visit the site from these jurisdictions instead of complying with these laws. So Pornhub was like, hey, we are not going to collect IDs because that's not what we're going to do, right? So usually when I'm talking about this topic, I'm speaking in hypotheticals. We literally do not have to speak in hypotheticals because, like, look, just in October, 70,000 of IDs were stolen from this company that's currently being like, you know what? Double down. We're going to double down. Who cares? Right? And then the rest of this article goes on to talk about how secure or insecure this new system is architected, right? Oh, we're using this new company, KID. They're super popular. They are definitely better than all of these other ones. They're going to, delete. Here we go. Seems that ID scans are uploaded to KID servers. They delete them, but they also mentioned that trusted third parties are used for verification who may or may not delete them. So these are fourth parties to Discord at this point, right? So we don't even know. I just want to say, like, this is a long article, like, about like the rest of just like users' reaction to this, but also just like, hey, this is secure or is not secure. I do not care. I don't care. That's not the point. The point being that a lot of people cannot safely de-anonymize themselves to use their online accounts, and they shouldn't have to, right? Can you guys think of some kinds of people who might not want to tie their real identity to an online persona where they might speak publicly about some issues? Let's see. Hold on. How about anyone who criticizes the government? That's a pretty broad topic. Journalists would be a good one. You guys said it. How about trans people? How about LGBTQ people in a country that doesn't take too kindly of that, who wants to connect with a community online without fear of, repercussions? How about just critics of a government that doesn't really like people who criticize them? Normally I'd be saying this about another country, but apparently it's happening here, right? So this is the point. I don't care how effing securely Discord says that this KID company does what they do. What I'm saying is people should not have to de-anonymize themselves in order to communicate on a social media platform. Period. End of discussion, right? This does absolutely dovetail into Section 230, right? So a lot of these platforms are going down this path because they are seeing the writing on the wall with the repeal of Section 230. They're worried about the repeal of Section 230. If you guys don't know, I should be recording a local YouTube video before I go through this entire topic. Do you guys mind if I cover some of this again? I'm gonna hit record and kind of hit part of what we just talked about again, and then kind of go through the rest of this with Section 230. Everyone cool with that? Cool. Let me catch up on chat. Journalists, whistleblowers, high-risk groups. Totally. Anyone who appreciates the privacy. Literally. TextureTube, like, you're completely right. You don't even need to be one of these high-risk groups to want to value your privacy for this kind of reason. I'm just out here saying there are some people who literally cannot do this safely, cannot de-anonymize safely. Difference between submitting to Discord and a doctor is huge. Not your responsibility to look it up. What do you mean? Coolio, spread the word, no problem. Yeah. Decided you're leaving Discord to many people. Yeah. I think I'm gonna I've hit the point where I'm not gonna comply with any of these. I'm not giving my government ID to anybody. Period. Period. That's my line in the sand. You don't get my government ID, right? We're gonna go through a little sneak peek of the end of what we're talking about. Like I said, I got 3 EFF articles. Wait, I have 4. Where's the other one? Oh my God, I have so many EFF articles. I love EFF, but I really didn't mean to do this. So EFF has this, like, so you hit an age gate, now what? And they kind of go through some of the major providers and like what you should be worried about, right? So like what data are you collecting? Who can see the data? How long do they hold it? Like audits, visibility. And they go through and they're like, Meta uses this provider. Credit card, digital ID, upload ID, TikTok does the selfie thing. If they can't, they'll do credit card, whatever. So we're gonna go through this. This is a good resource. I also love the EFF. It's one of my only on auto donations that I have set up. But yeah, lawmakers are trying to ban VPNs, Section 230, and ICE going on a surveillance shopping spree. These are all in the last few weeks too. So EFF is busy. And then we'll cover this one. Do I care about this one? This is like a history lesson of 230. I don't think I'm going to go through this. We're just going to go through what 230 is really quick. Yeah, this is from this week. Okay, let's look at what we want to talk about on this one. There's a hard to skim article. Whew. My ADD brain and wall of texts. I need sections, baby. You got to give me bolded words. I need that to be more slop. I need more slop. Yeah, this was good by 404, talking about ICE monitoring entire neighborhoods and sentiment analysis. That's a keyword we're going to talk about a ton. Sentiment analysis, because guess where they're getting the sentiment stuff? Oh, and these are other stories we'll talk about after I finish this topic. What is this? Online safety. Yeah. Okay, cool. I got my tabs in order. You guys are seeing what a professional I am. No, sorry, I meant it's not your responsibility. Yeah, I got it. I refuse to comply. I don't even have a real ID. It'll be a rise in Tor usage. Yeah, the same couple companies are coming up for doctor age verification, some travel shit. Yeah. I'd say there's a huge difference between like presenting your ID in things that there really isn't an expectation of anonymity. It's a hard word to say, right? Like, of course we can't let you travel, like, or do all these other things, like, but access of information and just like existing on the internet, it's like the opposite. It's like there's a safety concern by de-anonymizing people. Love the EFF. Oh yeah, speaking of ICE, did you hear the FBI couldn't crack into what? Yeah, we lockdown mode. We covered it on last stream on Thursday. I can go over it again, Nate, if we have a minute after I cover this one. All right. Death of the anonymous internet. We're gonna record a local file. I'm gonna hide chat from screen if you guys don't mind. Let me boop. Okay. Make my editor's life a little easier. All right, we're gonna hit record. I think I fixed OBS now from all of this. If hitting record locally crashes OBS, I will be right back. It has crashed OBS in the past. I think I fixed all that. It was some weird plugin that I had to like uninstall or reconfigure or something like that. All right, we're recording. Shout if I get all choppy, and I'll just like cut the recording off and I'll do it later. Give privacy for security up or give security for privacy up. TextureTube, such a good point. Usually people think privacy and security are like buddies and they're the same. They're actually at odds, right? This is like when you talk about corporate EDRs and like every time Huntress writes a blog about like what they see going on the computers that they're installed on, people are like, wait, why can Huntress see all that? And it's like, well, yeah, of course, the security tool can see everything that you're doing on your computer, which is, not private. So they are at odds, but there is like a balance here. All right, I'm recording. Doesn't look like it's crashing. Crash Slimmer, you go brrr. Low level. It's you'll like this. I'm already recording. Sorry, editor. Sorry, Nord. I'm like multi-streaming to YouTube and Twitch, right? That's happening with Restream. But on OBS, I wanted to hit record while I'm live to get a local file, and I wanted different sources to get their own file. So I wanted camera to have its own file, and then like screen share to have its own file, so that my editors could like do other stuff, right? instead of just the OBS output of the screens, like in that one file. But that plugin, it's called like Source Record, and that plugin just like, you had to like give different encoders to each thing. So I was using like Apple hardware encoder, blah, blah, blah on the camera, and then like some software recorder on the screen, and then like a third kind of encoder on just like the normal OBS output. And I would get 3 files, and it would be like encoder threw up, and like all of OBS would crash. So I had to like, so I can't record my screen anymore. I'm just recording camera and then the OBS output. So, relatively good enough. I'll figure it out eventually. You and I still need to hop on the phone and nerd out about everything that we're doing. Using being sued as a guide to deploy this. Yes. All right, guys. Sorry, I'm going to do my little song and dance. I'll get through everything we talked about really fast, and then everything else that I cover will be new anyway. So, all right, we're already recording. We're in a fight for being, we're in a fight in order to remain anonymous on the internet. This is like, we're at the cusp of the death of the anonymous internet. They're coming for it. They're coming for it. It's here. It's happening. And the reason we're talking about it this week is because you probably have already seen the news that Discord is rolling out this age verification tool globally. They already rolled it out in certain governments like the UK and Australia, because those governments have been rolling out these crazy age laws saying that no one over the age of 16 should be able to access certain information on the internet. And like, while that sounds good and warm and fuzzy and everything like that, because everyone wants to protect the children, when people are coming for our rights to internet freedoms and internet privacy under the guise of save the children, I want your alarm bells to go off, okay? Usually when I'm talking out against this stuff, I have to come up with hypotheticals about how these companies cannot protect our information, like government IDs, like they're collecting to do age verification. Usually I have to say, there's no way something bad is going to happen. This time, Discord, thank you. You didn't even wait 6 months from your data breach of a bunch of stolen government IDs to start rolling out this globally. So to kind of zoom out a bit, Discord is one of these platforms that is impacted by a lot of these regulations. And so they complied. A lot of people didn't comply and have like removed their service from some of these locales. But Discord complied and said, okay, we're going to do age verification in all of the either states or countries that require it. And they did that a few months ago. And now they're in this phased global rollout. So they're going to say, if you want to access certain information on Discord, you're going to have to age verify. And by doing that, you're either going to do an AI face scan, fantastic, or you're going to have to upload your government ID, which is a direction a lot of these companies are going. And a lot of them are using the same couple third parties. So back in October of 2025, I'm recording this in Feb 26, no hypothetical here. Hackers broke into the third-party provider that Discord was using to do age verification and stole 70,000 users' government IDs. Really bad. Again, it's not Discord's core competency to store government IDs securely. They're a social media website. You would think this third-party identity verification tool's core competency was storing this stuff securely, but it obviously wasn't. So even when I say like every random website out there shouldn't have to collect your ID because who are they to like have to protect it? Doesn't matter. Even the third parties whose like whole job it is to protect it can't, right? The rest of this article goes into how secure or insecure this whole architecture is for Discord, right? So it's like, who's checking it? This KID company is their new company. How long are they retaining it? We don't know. We've got some people saying the wording is pretty unclear. Seems that IDs are uploaded to their servers. They delete them, but it also mentions using trusted third parties for verification, meaning KID's third parties. So a fourth party to Discord. Who are they? Trusted third parties. Are they deleting your information? It doesn't, who knows? And this isn't the point. The point being, why? Because of all of these, politicians trying to protect the children, are we losing the ability to use the internet without our real identities being attached to all of that, right? So it's because nobody wants to be on the other side of the table from, hi, I'm trying to protect children under 16 from accessing content that is detrimental to their health, their mental health, their well-being, whatever it is. That makes a lot of sense, right? Like you don't want to be the person that says, no, I want my 15-year-old's mental health to go in the toilet, and I want 14-year-old girls to hate themselves and be served diet pill ads on Facebook next to a heavily filtered image of their classmates looking a certain way. No one wants to be on the side of defending that, right? And completely agree. It's been a net negative for the mental health of teenagers. I don't think anyone would disagree there. But when it comes to like, oh, so we need to protect them by removing the ability to access the internet anonymously is where I go off the rails a little bit. Okay. So let's pause and think about who might be a group of people that it would be unsafe for them to identify themselves to a certain website or a certain social network or a certain platform where they could share their opinions. Well, normally I would say if you are someone who lives in a country that maybe is less friendly to certain sexual identities or genders or anything like that, and you wanted to, or maybe you're someone who lives in a country that is super unfriendly to critics of the government or critics of certain policies, maybe like less freedom of speech type things. Well, that's just happening here now. That's just happening anywhere now, right? The Western democracies that are kind of the bastions of free speech and free internet are also trying their hand at this thing called sentiment analysis. Sentiment analysis. Every time you hear this from now on, remember this clip. Sentiment analysis means we want to make sure that you are saying the things that we agree with on the internet, or we're going to come get you and ask you some questions, right? Side note, what's the key points of this article? I've pulled it up, but this ties to the ICE stuff, right? Administrative subpoenas cannot be used to obtain the contents of personal emails, online searches, location data. They can demand information about the user, such as, yeah. All right. We're already seeing evidence of government agencies being able to collect information about your behavior and your speech online in order to determine how they act about you. Some of your online information is still protected from these kinds of subpoenas, like your personal emails or some location data online searches, but they absolutely can demand information about your social media presence or things like that. We're even seeing it at border crossings where they're doing social media checks on people before letting them in to the country. Do we want to talk about 230 next? Let's talk about this next. Homeland Security and the border crossing isn't the only time that we're seeing this in the US. We're even seeing ICE absolutely monitor entire neighborhoods worth of mobile device information and behavior, and again, sentiment analysis within a neighborhood to decide whose doors they're going to go knock on. Or they're getting information from data brokers who are getting it from advertisers or apps on your phone that you gave location information to figure out your home and your work location for certain people. Again, we're chipping away at your ability to use the internet or any electronic devices anonymously. So even if you don't tie any of your accounts to your real ID or anything like that, if they've got your location, if they got your home, if they got your work address, they can usually reverse engineer it to figure out who you are. A lot of this ties to something called Section 230, right? So this is an act in the government. We can read the whole thing. It's not very long. It's a few lines long. Oh, wrong Wikipedia article. Too many EFF. So this whole thing ties to a This whole thing ties to a law called Section 230 that a lot of people are trying to repeal. We could read this whole thing. It's not very long, but we don't have to read it. The gist of it is this act protects online platforms from being prosecuted for the behavior of its users. So it says no provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as the publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider. So that basically means that we can't go after Discord or Reddit or Twitter or Facebook and sue them based on some sort of content put there by another user. They're basically saying these platforms are not the publisher of that content. And a lot of people are coming out in against this to say, hey, we have to hold these platforms responsible for the kind of stuff that winds up on their platforms. And again, this is like the Save the Children thing. Who wants to be on the side of the argument saying, I need to protect Meta. I need to protect Twitter's rights, to not get prosecuted for like dangerous stuff shared on that platform. That sounds like an illogical argument, and that's why this kind of stuff catches wings, right? And catches air. All right, let's go to EFF real quick. But here's the issue. This is EFF's website. I'm bringing up way too many EFF articles in this video, but they're awesome. Go donate to the EFF. They protect all of our online freedoms. So Section 230 was written in a time before the modern internet, which is another reason why people are like, no, this needs to be updated. We didn't know what was going on. But it actually, Actually, the internet as it exists today would not exist at all if it wasn't for Section 230. Imagine trying to write a negative review for a company on Yelp or on Google Reviews or something like that, and the company was allowed to sue Yelp for this negative information about them on their platform. How do you think Yelp would have grown at that point, right? How do you think any social media sites would have come to existence if it wasn't for this? The other major point that I talk about a lot when I'm talking about these topics is who is to determine what is objectionable or adult content or explicit material, which is the words that get thrown around a lot that we're protecting the children from in this stuff. Who's defining that, right? We got to think about that. So it says it right here. It's like Section 230 is held that users and services cannot be sued for forwarding email, hosting online reviews, or sharing photos or videos that others find objectionable. It also helps to quickly resolve lawsuits, cases that have no legal basis. So again, it goes back to the 90s. When Section 230 was passed in 1996, about 40 million people were using the internet. By 2019, 4 billion people were online, with 3.5 billion of them using social media platforms. In 1996, there were fewer than 300,000 websites. By 2017, there was 1.7 billion. Could you imagine a legal system that had to decide who was responsible for objectionable content in that amazing growth? One of the other important points here is that a lot of websites are too small to abide by these rules, and they should be allowed to exist. When it comes to repealing Section 230 or enforcing certain content policies or moderation, what you're getting to is giant corporations that are forced to build AI systems or mass surveillance of its own users in order to comply with that. A la this Discord story that we started talking about. Do you think that if you were starting your own social network today for recipe sharing, it's going to be the Grandma's Cookbook social network, and it should exist? If it doesn't, someone please let me know if it already exists. I want Nana's baked ziti recipe stat, okay? Do you think that if I was to start that platform right now and I had to comply with the heavy burden of making sure that no one was sharing a baked ziti recipe that someone could find objectionable, because how dare you put that much ricotta cheese in baked ziti? The court decrees that anything more than 4 cups of ricotta cheese is objectionable. You guys, you might be chuckling about this. This is the same thing. I know I'm talking about ricotta cheese, but who's to say what is objectionable or explicit? Okay. Maybe you get, the Italian purist who doesn't like my, Long Island American baked ziti recipe. So even if like looking through all that, looking past that whole like silly joke about cheese, if you had to comply with the moderation requirements to make sure that everyone on your platform was abiding by these rules, or you would be put out of business, that social media site doesn't exist, right? I'm using this as an example, but this matters at a much, much deeper level about how people can exist freely on the internet. And we're seeing reports that Section 230 is just under attack, right? Under attack from every which way. What attacks do we want to talk about? I think Senator Wyden is anytime I'm talking about stuff like this, Senator Wyden is one of the best voices in it, right? It's no surprise that as we're talking about the fight for internet freedom, Senator Ron Wyden comes up. He's one of the only senators that's constantly talking about cybersecurity and privacy at the highest level. So you've probably heard me say his name before. And what he says is that we're going to give the current government administration, obviously he's a Democrat and he's talking about this as like a Trump problem or not. I'm of the camp that either political party should not have the kind of control to write what is acceptable online speech. But look through the lens of Wyden as a Democrat here, saying Trump and the MAGA billionaire cronies would be in the driver's seat to rewrite our laws over online speech. I don't think anyone's billionaires cronies should be in the driver's seat, because everyone's got their own billionaire cronies. But handing I'm just going to say the government, a grenade launcher pointed right at people who want to have a voice. While Section 230 opponents think platforms like Instagram and YouTube, as the behemoth players they believe have benefited too long from the law's protections. And this is what I'm talking about. Who wants to be on the side of saying, protect Meta, protect Instagram, protect Google, protect YouTube, right? No one wants to say that because it feels icky. Wyden says platforms like Blue Sky or even Wikipedia that use social media, or groups that, like we just talked about, monitor social media like ICE is doing now, would also suffer without it. 30 years later, he says, the law stands for exactly the same thing. Are you going to stand up for people who don't have power, don't have clout, and are looking for a way to be heard? Because the people at the top, the people with lots of money, they're always going to have ways to get their message out, get their content out. The First Amendment and what we're talking about is a lifeline for folks of modest kind and means. This is an under talked about point when we're talking about Section 230 and anonymous internet use, is if you keep going down this path of heavily regulation, what you're going to have is an internet of people who can and do have the means to comply and are not scared to comply and have the funds to comply. And you're going to just drown out a lot of the internet that you know today. Once again, when I'm talking about this stuff, I'm usually talking in hypotheticals. And for some reason, in 2026, even though we're only a few weeks in, I've got a plethora of articles that I can pull from that this is not hypothetical. We have evidence We have evidence on top of evidence on top of evidence of these government agencies are going to more and more data brokers to figure out how to get more and more of our information and de-anonymize us in order to do whatever it is that they want to do with it, whatever decisions they want to make. As EFF says here, of course, ICE doesn't just end up targeting surveillance. All of these are links to actual news stories, right, of examples of this stuff. We're not even going to bring it all up. But it doesn't just end up targeting, surveilling, harassing, assaulting, detaining, torturing people who are undocumented immigrants. They've also targeted people on work permits or asylum seekers or permanent residents, people holding green cards or naturalized citizens or even citizens by birth. Each of those is a link to an actual story talking about what they're talking about. So while the NSA and the FBI might be the first agencies that come to mind when you think about surveillance, ICE should not be discounted. ICE is always engaged in surveillance. In 2022, so even before the recent explosion of ICE issues, Georgetown Law Center for Privacy and Technology found that ICE had scanned the driver's license photos of 1 in 3 adults. ICE had the driver's license of 3 in 4 adults. That ICE had scanned the driver's license photo of 1 in 3 adults. And it had access to 3/4 of adults. It was tracking the movements of drivers in cities home to 3 and 4 adults. So tracking your movements around your locations, license plate readers, cell phone stuff, all that kind of stuff. Built-in surveillance dragnet by tapping data from private companies and state and local bureaus. And they spent about $2.8 billion between 2008 and 2021 on new surveillance and data collection technology. And that is not slowing. It's not slowing at all. So what are we going to do about it? All right. So you want to know on the major platforms, what should you do if you hit an age gate? Personally, I'm drawing a line in the sand. I'm not giving my government ID to any of these websites. Okay. There are certain things that of course, you have to give your ID for. And there are certain things like accessing information on the internet that I'm just not willing to do. The risk reward is way too skewed, right? You have, identity theft in one direction and memes in another. And I'm just not willing to trade risk of identity theft for memes. So EFF, I'm going to put this link in the description below. EFF has this resource. Again, 2026 has just been they've had to put all this stuff out. This is a great resource because it has the breakdown per major platform of what kind of questions you should ask about the age verification policies of each of these platforms. So for the big ones, this is easy stuff to figure out. But as you go, we're seeing more and more just random websites having to comply or choosing to comply or not of this information. So one thing would be asking what data are they actually collecting? What do they require? Who can see that data during the course of the verification process? Retention, who's storing that data and how? For how long? What information can we get about that, right? This is what you've seen from Discord shift from this third-party provider, which apparently stored this stuff indefinitely. They're now coming out and saying, hey, this new provider deletes this stuff much faster. That's what we think we know. And then audits. Can we figure out that these companies, are they open source? Do we know what's going on? Are they publishing transparency reports about the kind of audits that they go through, right? And visibility. Who will be aware that you're attempting to verify your age, right? Do they, even if no one can access the information, sometimes for people, the sensitive bit of information is just the fact that you're going through that process, right? Which is just insane. So we don't have to go through this line by line, but this is a good article because it'll go through, hey, on Meta, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger, and Threads, here's what you might run into, right? If Meta can guess your age, you'll probably never see a screen, but maybe some people will see a face scan. That's run by a company called Yoti. And then EFS has a bunch of information about Yoti. So you may not want to use this option if you're worried about third parties potentially being able to know that you're trying to verify your age with Meta. You also might not want to use this if you're worried about a current picture of your face accidentally leaking. For example, if elements in the background of your selfie might reveal your current location or anything like that, right? On the other hand, if you consider a selfie to be less sensitive than a photograph of your ID, this option might be better. So this is like just giving you the information for every platform to decide what's going on, right? And they'll even go down. If Yodi's selfie decides your face looks too young, or if you opt out of that face age estimation, you might be asked to send a photo of your ID. They send that photo ID to Yodi. Meta says it will hold on to that image for 30 days, then delete it. Yodi claims it will delete the image immediately after verification. They're saying, of course, bugs, process oversights exist, such as accidentally replicating information into logs, backups. We saw people get hacked. There's all sorts of risks still here, but this is what they're saying. This is the information that we have to go off of. Google is going to infer your age based on a whole lot of information about your account. I think my Google account itself is old enough, just in years of Google accounts. So I will probably never run into any of this stuff because I made it that long ago. So, they're going to use whatever public information they can. Then they're probably going to do, a face scan or a digital ID, or just like your email use or whatever it is, or credit card verification. So I'm going to leave this down here. This has Meta, Google, TikTok, but then it also kind of gives you the questions to ask of any of these not platforms that you need to worry about. The other thing that I'm going to get questions about, of course, are VPNs. So a lot of people are just saying, well, if your state or your country is enforcing this age verification stuff, just use a VPN and make it look like you're coming from a different country. The problem here is now lawmakers are wise to this workaround of the thing that they're trying to do. And so they're trying to ban VPNs. The thing here is they just fundamentally do not understand how this technology works, right? How can you ban a VPN? You can try to ban VPNs, and what you're actually doing is banning big VPN providers that have known IP addresses, and you can say, well, you need to not allow traffic to your website from the known VPN providers. But VPN is just a traffic tunnel, right? So I can just go stand up some server somewhere that I want and then use that server as my own personal VPN. And then that IP address is not a known VPN thing, right? There really is as you pull the thread here, you're not getting any closer to your actual goal. You're just trying further and further to reduce actual tools that people use in order to use the internet in a private fashion. I wouldn't say VPNs are in like a secure fashion. I don't call VPNs a security tool, but they definitely are a privacy tool. Wisconsin is one of the first people that are out here targeting VPNs. And again, guess what? In the name of protecting children. So their bill, it's an age verification bill just for Wisconsin, just like the UK and Australia have passed, that requires all websites distributing material that could conceivably be deemed sexual content to both implement an age verification system and block access. And this is the big difference, right? And also block access of users connected via VPN. It's just not possible. They just fundamentally do not know what they're talking about. They just know, hey, we tried to make everyone identify in this state, and people are just using VPNs to look like they're coming from a different state or country. So we need to make sure that they can't use that tool also, even though that just doesn't make sense, right? So EFF, again, I did not do this on purpose, but literally every bit of research I was doing brought me to EFF. VPNs mask your real location by routing your internet traffic through a server somewhere else. When you visit a website through a VPN, the website only sees the VPN server, not your actual location. It's like sending a letter through a PO box. So when Wisconsin demands the website block VPNs users from Wisconsin, they're asking for something that's technically impossible. Websites have no way to tell if a VPN connection is coming from Milwaukee, Michigan, or Mumbai. The technology just doesn't work that way. Websites subject to this proposal law are left with this choice: either cease operations in Wisconsin or block all VPN users everywhere just to avoid legal liability in the state. But this also just talks about like known VPN users, right? You can do all sorts of stuff just by rolling your own, right? And then what do you do? So they also talk about almost everyone uses a VPN. Businesses run VPNs. Probably you're watching this video, there's a high likelihood you have some sort of VPN technology installed on your device, even if you're not like a privacy forward person. Students need to access it for school. This is how they access their corporate networks. Vulnerable people rely on VPNs for safety, right? So even people that aren't using it for official purposes, Like domestic abuse survivors use VPNs to hide their location from their abusers. Journalists use them to protect their sources. Activists use them to organize without government surveillance. Like all threads lead back to government surveillance, right? This is what they're trying to chip away at. And then, hey, you don't even need one of these cool reasons. You could just want your ISP to not know everywhere that you're going so that they can sell it to advertisers. This is just a privacy nightmare. And this is harmful to minors. You're trying to save the children. This is actually harmful to minors. You're taking tools of safety and internet safety away from people. You're not actually protecting anybody. So again, who is defining what the content is that you're trying to protect people from? These laws are trying to broaden the definition of harmful to minors to sweep in a host of speech that is protected for both youth and adults. It says that historically, states can prohibit people from under 18 from accessing sexual materials that an adult can access under the First Amendment. But the definition of what constitutes harmful to minors is narrow. It generally requires the materials have almost no social value to minors and that they're taking as a whole appeal to minors as sexual interests, right? So like, yeah, okay, we have these porn laws and no one wants to be on the side of like defending this. But Wisconsin's bill banning the VPNs and the Age Verification Act does not have that narrow definition. It's a much more broad definition. It applies to materials that merely describe sex or feature depictions of human anatomy. That definition would likely encompass a wide range of literature, music, television, and films that are protected under the First Amendment for both adults and young people, not to mention basic scientific and medical content. So this is just kind of the sum of everything that's going on. We're talking about it because of Discord this week, but this is a much broader topic. There's some journalists right now that are doing multi-part series on YouTube about Section 230. I implore you guys to go watch a lot of that and see what this war on Section 230 actually is resulting in and where it's coming from. And of course, follow the money, follow the government surveillance. Don't just hear protect the children and hear porn and social media are bad and be like, yeah, they're bad, and I don't want to defend those. No, they're chipping away at rights, they're chipping away at privacy, and they're chipping away at a safe and anonymous internet in order to benefit them, their advertisers, their donors, and everything in between. This is a super important topic. Thanks for watching all the way through. Please do all the YouTube things down below. It really supports the channel more than you know. Subscribe for more cybersecurity news. All right, guys, and we're back to just chat. I'll bring you guys back on screen. Thanks for allowing me to do that. Let's catch up on chat. He's doing another video. Stingray. Papers. Show me your papers. Exactly. Quick question. If you could pay like $5 and get one SM verification, but the clerk checks your ID, one small would you be cool with that? I'm not sure I understand the question. Let's say the specific card tag scrambles like lottery, not tracked. Selfies creeper to me because nothing takes that long. They're like, okay, let's get your earlobe slightly from the left. Yeah, it's all AI systems. Free VPNs are dangerous, 100%. Please do not use free VPNs. Unless you're like rolling your own, right? If you want to like install whatever tunnel software on a VPS somewhere. Bill, what link? Sorry. What link you talk? What link? Are we talking? I put a bunch of links. Let's see. The EFF one? You guys might be talking about the EFF one. The age verification will lead to cyber threat, invite cybercrime. Totally. This is what I'm saying. Like it's usually it has to be hypothetical for that, but no, we have literally that going on right now with Discord. Let me upload those files. Yeah, Bill, thanks for being here. Raw YouTube files. Death of Anonymous Internet. I think that's a good title. I'm going to rock with it. All right, we've got that file. We don't get screen files anymore. We just get face. All right. Do we hate that? Is it cringe that I do that while live, that I record videos while live? I thought that people liked that, but then I saw who was laughing about that today. Primogen or something did it, and he was like, oh no, I'm so sorry. Like you can get an LM and I'm 14 and then put the gift card number in. I don't know where I land. Just trying to understand more of it. Yeah. Tor, do not make you anonymous. Law enforcement can track you. Yeah. Have I seen that Parker guy? What Parker guy? Doesn't bother you. Well, I'm not trying to just not bother you. I hope it's like cool to watch the sausage be made. I kind of like it. When I watch live streams, if they're recording YouTube, it's kind of cool. You get to like see it. What he does is annoying. Which Parker guy are you talking about? Proton VPN. Proton's under some scrutiny right now. I was generally a fan, but they're catching some heat. Record the whole thing and clip it. Yeah, but like when I'm just live stream chatting, it's generally like a different, it's like a whole different vibe, right? Like the energy is the energy is a bit off. Also, like, I don't get as good of a like video file, right? Parker, get a job. You watch for like 15 minutes and it's like 14 and a half minutes of him shouting and talking about calling in. Oh, no, I don't know. I don't think I know him. Let me look. Parker, get a job. Daily debate lives. Oh, I've seen clips of this guy. Yeah, that's like his whole thing, right? It's just like clip farming and kind of rage baiting people. You definitely went locked in mode. Yeah, you kind of have to, man. You got to lock in. Like, so I do a lot of short form video, and a lot of people clip their long form video to do short form video, and the energy is completely different. You know what I mean? Like, I know a lot of people that do podcast conversations, and they're very like this. They're like, oh yeah, you know, that one time that I was at this job site in Florida and I hacked into this thing. That's the conversation. That's fine. But on like a 90-second clip, you got to be like, let me tell you about the time that I was in Florida and I hacked into this like car dealership, right? Like you have to, you know, finding that energy in the first couple seconds you need to do a good short form video during a 3-hour live stream is really hard, right? I know a lot of people actually say that they think about it a lot. Like a lot of podcasters I know think about the clip a lot. Can't tell if I'm being edgy. It's like the stream equivalent of a kid who has to learn piano, just playing chopsticks. Oh, I see. You're talking about them. Quantum computers will be a threat to VPNs. So I just actually flew out to California last week for a gig at Palo Alto Networks. They brought me in to like interview a bunch of their quantum people because they're doing a huge quantum initiative because they're, you know, a big enough company to have a quantum initiative. I think a lot of little companies just can't. And so I learned a lot. So I mean, I knew a whole lot about quantum, but I didn't know a lot of the like boots on the ground, what is going to happen with this, like you said, they're going to break encryption. I didn't know a lot about that, right? About like, well, I knew how they would break encryption. I didn't know a lot about what we need to do to get ahead of it, right? So there's this whole like PQC is an acronym. It's like post-quantum cryptography. And then crypto agility is another word, like designing our systems so that we can hot swap crypto algorithms. So we're not like sitting on an old crypto algorithm and kind of forced into using it, or it would break. So crypto agility came up a lot. It turns out that a lot of the stuff that we need to actually do to get ready for quantum so that there's not some like massive Y2K moment where the whole internet breaks is stuff that we've already done in the past. So like the SSL 3.0 transition to TLS and the TLS transition from 1 to 1.1 to 1.2, and now even TLS 1.3 is already a thing that, you know, has been rolling out for a while. All those transitions are the exact same like work that we need to do for quantum, except we need to do it like everywhere. So a lot of TLS stuff, it's just like your web browser and your web connection. With the quantum stuff, we really got to even be worried about all the little random services that have like OpenSSL under the hood that we need to like figure out what algorithms and cipher suites those are all using. So it really comes down to like inventory. It's like inventory of like all the crypto being used in your environment anywhere, right? So like generating, we just did this whole years long thing to move to zero trust, right? So like no one's logging into their stuff anymore. We're giving a certificate to a machine, and now the machine is trusted because of this certificate. Well, that certificate is just generated via some crypto algorithmy stuff also, right? So there was like a lot of talk, and I heard about this before, where it was like store now, decrypt later. So a lot of people are worried about nation states or whatever adversaries collecting a lot of encrypted information now, assuming that a few years from now they will be able to break that encryption with quantum computers. But what I had never heard, I've heard of the store now, decrypt later. What I hadn't heard was trust now, forge later was an interesting one, right? So now we're trusting these certificate authentication systems because we just did this giant effort to like move people to zero trust, right? So we're trusting these certificates. Well, what happens when those certificates can be forged because of the same kind of things? That was an interesting one that I hadn't thought about. Oh, Galaxy, you just said the risk harvest now, decrypt later. I didn't even see you say that. I'm waiting for a very important phone call or email today. So if you see me looking down, I look at ceilings when I walk into rooms. Gotta look around. All right, what else do we want to talk about today? I have a few other stories I can pull up. So I haven't read this one yet, but I think I know what it's about. So I saw a bit of an initiative from who was it? Allison Nixon. Is she mentioned in here? Yeah, I knew it. I knew that this was what it was going to be about. So Allison Nixon, if you guys don't know, is a like investigator, like a cyber investigator that pretty much specializes in tracking down this particular group, right? This Scattered Spider group. She says there's no such thing as Scattered Spider. They don't call themselves Scattered Spider. They call themselves the COM. Scattered Spider is a marketing term that some vendors use to describe them. But she's kind of been on a mission to say like, hey, you got to like stop paying these people. You're not going to get what you want out of the ransomware, right? I like to say, and I'll say it again right now, we have the playbook for the most prolific hacking group on the planet right now. Like we know exactly how they operate, right? They haven't really changed their MO a whole lot. And so I consider this like priority number one, if you're building a security program right now, is to know what your answer is to every part of their playbook. It's public. Like we know exactly what they do when they get in everywhere, right? It's SMS or voice phishing attacks going after OAuth tokens, mostly for SSO platforms like Okta. Once they can get into Okta, they can get into all the different SaaS apps, and they have it down to a well-oiled machine to like proliferate once they have that Okta OAuth token. So it's just like, what's your playbook there? What is your help desk like policy? What is your SMS phishing protections? What's your two-factor look like? What's everything? So that's what they do. So Allison, though, is like, she works for this company called Unit 221B, that their whole thing is, we can pull them up, give them a shout. They're not law enforcement, but they call themselves a threat disruption company. They deliver actionable intelligence and cybersecurity solutions to enterprise law enforcement and government agencies. So they kind of specialize in tracking these threat actors and their behavior and like giving that information over to companies in order to protect themselves from those particular threat actors. Allison is the person on staff that is like most honed into this one particular group, right? Who are English speaking, and a lot of them are, definitely on the younger side. So what else does she say? Nixon's been closely tracking this criminal group and individual members as they bounce between various Telegram channels used to extort and harass victims. She said that Scattered Lapsus Shiny Hunters differs from traditional data ransom groups in other important ways that argue against trusting them to do anything they say they'll do, such as destroying stolen data. So this is her whole, she's on like kind of a tear right now, just like screaming it from the rooftops, trying to say like, hey, don't pay them, right? So many traditional Russian ransomware groups have employed high pressure tactics to force payment in exchange for decryption, key, or promise to delete stolen data, such as publishing a dark web shaming blog with samples of stolen data next to a countdown clock, or notifying journalists and board members of the victim company. But, Allison said that the extortion from this group, Shiny, Scattered Spider, whatever, quickly escalates way beyond that to threats of physical violence against executives, their families, DDoS attacks on victims' website, and repeated email flooding campaigns. They're known for breaking into companies by phishing employees over the phone, I said, or text for sure. Mandiant said their most recent extortion attacks stem from incidents spanning early to mid, right now, January 2026, right? A few days ago. They're still super active. They pretend to be IT staff and call employees at targeted victims organizations claiming that the company is updating their MFA settings. So we have their playbook. They've done this dozens of times. The threat actor directed the employees to victim-branded credential harvesting sites. So they make very good phishing sites to capture the SSO creds and MFA codes. Yeah. So according to Nixon, the coordinated harassment in their Telegram channels is part of a well-orchestrated strategy to overwhelm the victim's organization by manufacturing humiliation that pushes them over the threshold to pay. So executives at targeted organizations have been subject to swatting attacks, phony bomb threats, or hostage situations to their house. And a big part of what they're doing to victims is the psychological aspects of it, like harassing execs. So in a blog post today, she argues that no one should negotiate with them because the group has demonstrated a willingness to extort victims based on promises that they have no intention of keeping. Nixon points out that all known members hail from the COM, shorthand from a constellation of cybercrime-focused Discord and Telegram communities. With this type of ongoing dysfunction often compounding by substance abuse, these threat actors often aren't able to act with the core goal in mind of completing a successful strategic ransom operation. They continually lose control with outbursts that put their strategy and operational security at risk, which severely limits their ability to build a professional, scalable, and sophisticated criminal organization. I've gotten to talk to Allison on the side a bit about like her work with this group, and she's shared some pretty damning stuff, like really, really kind of awful details. Like, they'll be on the phone threatening a school to like bring it on lockdown while at the same time being on the phone with like one of the teenagers of that school, talking them into like self-harm and all this kind of stuff, right? It's just nasty business. manipulating media into hyping the threat posed by this group. This approach also borrows from a page of the playbook of sextortion attacks, she said, which encourages predators to keep targets continuously engaged and worrying about the consequences of non-compliance. So yeah, Nixon, because she like tracks them, she is a target of them a ton, right? So for the past several months, the group's Telegram channels have been replete with threats of physical violence against her, against yours truly. So against Brian Krebs, he's another one that they always go against, and against other security researchers. These threats, she said, are just the way for the group seeks to generate media attention to achieve a veneer of credibility. Watch for the following behaviors in their communications to you or their public statements: repeated abusive mentions of Allison or AN or cybersecurity journalists like Brian Krebs or any other cybersecurity employee or company, any threats to kill, commit terrorism or violence against the employees or journalists. While the pressure campaigns during extortion attempts may be traumatizing to the employees and their family members, entering into drawn-out negotiations with them incentivize the group to increase the level of harm and risk, which could include physical safety of the employees and families. So she's just like warning people from not engaging because it's just incentivizing the bad behavior. Your decision to pay should be a separate issue from the harassment. We believe that when you separate these issues, you will objectively see the best course of action to protect your interest in both short and long term is to refuse payment. So you know that like this this article is going to get Brian, talked about in this site today too, right? It's just bound to happen. Do they have a cause or just money? No, just money. Yeah, I also agree that Unit 2020B is sounds like a dream job, right? They do some seriously cool intel. Yeah, Lapsus. It was like a few groups that combined, right? It's like the Com, and then there was Scattered Spider, and then there were Shiny Hunters, and then there was Lapsus. And it's not like they go around wearing name tags about what group they're a part of in any given day. So it's very amorphous, blobs of different Discord and Telegram channels. You know what I mean? Geez, I just pulled up Twitter to see if I was missing anything, and a lot of people are talking about that Discord story I just covered. Who saw this guy that started the Epstein email website that it looks like Gmail but lets you search through all of the emails? He just got hit with a $50,000 bill from Vercel because so many people went to the site. It's just nuts. All right. I didn't see this one yet. New spyware targeting Android and iOS. That's scary. If it's new spyware and it works on iOS, that my bat signals go up, my spidey senses go up, right? Android, it's hey, it's such a fractured environment. You can target a whole lot of weird, outdated, or unsupported Android devices, but iOS is a much different beast to attack at that level. So this is iVerify. They've identified a new mobile spyware platform called Zero Day Rat. It's being sold on Telegram. First observed, we're literally talking last week. The developer runs dedicated channels for sales, customer support, regular updates. This is a full cyber criminal operation. From that, the operators gain full remote control over a user's Android or iOS device with support spanning Android 5 through 15 and iOS up to 26. Including iPhone 17 Pro. No technical expertise required. What? Guys, that's wild. Zero Day Rat. Exploit bots. Android and iOS 26. Well, that's nuts. It's not Pegasus. This is completely new. Let's see what it is. To infect a device, an operator needs to get a malicious binary onto it, an APK for Android or a payload for iOS. The most common way that happens is I hate that. It's just phishing, SMS phishing. The victim gets a text with a link, downloads what looks like a legitimate app, and installs it. Phishing emails, fake app stores, and links. Okay, so it's not like zero-click iMessage spyware, which is good news, but still, the fact that a download like that works for iOS is pretty crazy, right? It's usually pretty sandboxed. Once the device is infected, the overview tab, the first thing the operator sees is all the information: SIM, carrier info. Okay. Even recent messages. The screen is enough to profile the infected user, who they talk to, what apps they use most, they're active, what network they're on. Scrolling down reveals intercepted messages from banking services, carriers, personal context. Jeez. This is gnarly, guys. Beyond the overview, each data stream gets its own tab. GPS coordinates are pulled up and plotted, so the operator can track not just where the infected user is now, but where they've been. Notifications are captured separately: app name, title, content, and timestamp. WhatsApp messages, Instagram notifications, missed Telegram updates, YouTube alerts. Okay. One of the more problematic panels is the accounts tab. Every account registered on the device. So if you link your Google, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, oh my gosh, each with associated username or email. This is basically everything attacker needs to attempt account takeover, launch targeted. Okay, so it's not passwords or access to them, but it's like this is the Google account. So then you'd have to then attack those accounts. That's not as crazy. SMS access rounds out the data collection. Full inbox search, the ability to send messages from, you can send messages from the phone number. So you can use this to proliferate itself, right? So from a trusted number, you can text their contact books more phishing links. Visibility into oncoming two-factor codes. That's huge. It's why we don't like SMS two-factor codes. Live surveillance and key logging. Everything above is passive data collection. The surveillance tab crosses into real-time physical access like live camera, front or back, screen recording, and microphone feed. Ugh. Brutal. Along the surveillance tools, a keylogger captures every input with app context. Geez, a live screen preview. Banking and crypto theft, of course, right? With all that access in place, the stealer moves into direct financial theft. The crypto stealer scans for wallets like MetaMask, Binance, Coinbase, performs clipboard address injection, silently replacing copied wallet addresses with the attackers, so outgoing transfers get redirected. That's nasty, gnarly. A separate bank stealer module targets online banking apps. Taken together is a complete mobile compromise toolkit, the kind that's used to require nation-state investment or bespoke exploit development. Now sold on Telegram. A single buyer gets full access to a target's location, messages, finance, camera, microphone, keystrokes. For enterprises, a compromised employee device is a vector for credentials theft. Yep. Oof, gosh. Is there anyone else talking about this? That's nuts. I'm trying to find some more information about it. I've seen a few news stories pop up, but what? What is...
Hackers full access to Android and iOS phones right now.
Ugh. I was like, how is this a YouTube video already? There's like some AI generated YouTube account that just like... Ew. I hate this channel. Oh my God. They just like put out auto-generated videos of B-roll with AI voices on this news story. I was like, wait, how did someone make a YouTube video about this already? This is wild. I wonder if I can find that Telegram. Probably not. Well, not easily. Sorry, I fell off on chat really quick there. Sideloaded. Requires click, not zero click. Yeah, I was kind of worried about that too. Do not install random stuff. People do it though, man. But that rat that we were just showing here, I'll pull it back up. This is more like the interesting part here is less the initial attack vector, because I'm sure that'll always change, and more just like, look how easy it makes you to control everything from now on, right? This AI slap. Talk about I2P. I don't know if I know enough about I2P to talk about it. Invisible Internet Project. Anonymous network layer that allows censorship-resistant peer-to-peer communications. Oh, is this kind of like Meshtastic, but not just for like radio? Very pirate internet. Yeah, BitTorrent's big on it, it looks like. I2P boat. Is that an email thing? Fully distributed anonymous email system. I mean, these things exist, right? Like, you know, there are tools that people can use for this stuff, but until any of them are widespread, this is like people talking about other secure messaging apps that aren't Signal, and I'm like they're like Threema is better, and it's like, oh, literally the I2P main website for the project is not working currently, so it just is down. So see, it's like until a bunch of people are using it, it's kind of hard, right? Like Threema, everyone's like Threema is so much better. It's like, cool, who can you message on Threema? It's not so much better. Signal's encryption is fine. The fact that people don't like that you still need a phone number is really the main issue. All right, so I2P is kind of like Tor, right? It's an overlay network, but it's for viewing the clear web, right? Not the onion router stuff. It is down. Yeah, literally. I just like went, I was on the Wikipedia page and I was reading a Reddit thread about it. Here, we'll pull this up. This part of the site looks good. This is I2P versus Tor. Anonymizing proxy networks. The primary differences are related to the differences in the threat model and the out proxy design. Tor takes the directory-based approach, providing a centralized point to manage the overall view of the network, as well as gather and report statistics. I2P's distributed network database and peer selection. Out proxy functionality does have a few substantial weaknesses against certain attackers. Yeah, I don't know much about this. So while Tor and I2P, much of the terminology is different. Oh, this is just terminology. Yeah, Tor is a bigger user base. Formal studies about anonymity, resistance, performance, right? So we kind of know what the strengths and weaknesses of Tor are. Significant funding, more developers, benefits of I2P, designed and optimized for hidden services, which are much faster than in Tor. Fully distributed, self-organized. Peers are selected by continuously profiling and ranking performance rather than trusting claimed capacity. So it's kind of the same, huh? There's There's just kind of small little differences, like on performance and stuff. All right, what's this? This came out today. By law, I am required to read everything that Google Threat Intelligence Group puts out, or they send me straight to jail. Beyond the Battlefield's threat to defense industrial base. What is this one? Has anyone read this yet this morning? Russian targeting of critical and emerging defense in Ukraine and beyond. Sandworm. We talked about the Sandworm Polish power grid stuff recently. All right. Does anyone know what this one's about yet? If so, shout. If not, we'll figure it out together, everybody. You talked about it? Oh, we talked about the Polish thing on Thursday, if that's what you're talking about. But this seems a lot more in depth from Google Threat Intel. Let's see. Consistent effort has been dedicated to targeting defense entities on the battlefield in the Russia-Ukraine war. So I like to talk about stuff going on in the Russia-Ukraine, not to just over talk about that topic, but I think it's like super important to focus on modern like conflict, especially as a cybersecurity professional, so we can decide like where the lines are going to be drawn as the future goes on between kinetic and digital like warfare type stuff, right? Yeah. I just threw this article through some LLMs to just be like, hey, what are the key points? Yeah. Okay. I like this. So I was going to hit all this pretty much in this exact same way, right? So the battlefield moved into digital, right? So future of conflict isn't just missiles and drones, it's servers, contractors, HR, workforces, all this kind of stuff, right? Russia's Ukraine playbook target the tools of war, the people and the people using them. WhatsApp phishing pages and lures impersonating defense tech brands and apps. So they're trying to hack the people, like the drone pilots, basically, devices. Click fix style social engineering, convincing targets to copy paste commands. LLMs made mid-tier phishing more dangerous. Yeah, for sure. The human layer is the new perimeter. It's kind of always been, right? But they're talking a little bit about HR as a threat service, specifically around North Korea. And who's to say North Korea is going to be the last person to be using that playbook? China is the volume leader. Edge devices are the front door. China Nexus activity is most active volume. Yeah, okay. Edge devices. We've talked about this, right? That's the thing that keeps me up at night is the evidence of China hacking a lot of edge devices and appliances, but haven't done anything with that access, right? That's nuts. Supply chain reality. Manufacturing gets hit constantly. Defense inherits the blast radius. So manufacturing is described as the most represented sector in ransomware extortion data leak sites. Defense and aerospace orgs are 1%, but the bigger point is the dual use suppliers and surge capacity. Hacktivism isn't just DDoS anymore. Pro-Russia, pro-Iran, hacktivism groups, hack and leak, doxing, intimidation, disruption, influence narratives. All right. It's kind of interesting. Repair fix? What's repair fix? I just did crash fix. Who wrote about repair fix? Repair fix. I've got crash fix. I've got click fix. I can't find repair fix. Who's talking about repair fix? Sorry, ELI5 what? Let me scroll up. HR. What did you want me to ELI5? All the stuff that I was just talking about? Yeah, sorry. I just threw this threat intelligence article through an LLM to just make sure I didn't miss any key points. So I was just reading the key points off. We could talk about all of them in depth, though, for sure. For sure. We can make a video about it if we want. Is this a good video? This might be a good video. So Sandworm, we saw like literally in the last few weeks has gone after a bunch of the they went after a bunch of Poland power grid targets, all with the same exploit because they were all running the same kind of stuff, which is kind of wild. All right, make a video about this whole thing. Yeah, all right. Let's go through, figure out what we want to cover. So Sandworm, all right, let's pull up. No, don't Google live on screen, Matt, because you will pull up some crap you shouldn't. Sandworm, Polish, power grid, Sandstorm. I would play that song if I wouldn't get copyright striked. All right, we can do Bleeping Computers article on this is fine, I think. Oh no. Kim Zetter, right? Didn't we do Kim Zetter's article? Zetter's article was awesome. Kim Zetter, Sandworm, Poland. Yeah. No, wait, that's not Kim Zetter. 0 day. Whoa. Wait, did she publish things like 3 days in a row? Oh, she did. She went nuts about this. Polish grid systems targeted in cyber attacks had little security. Hold on, I'll pull it up. Okay, so she has a few articles about this, so we'll kind of hit them all. This kind of hits everything. This is the latest, right? If you guys don't know, Kim Zetter wrote the book about Stuxnet, so she knows a lot about cyber attacks on industrial control system type stuff. Yeah, this is the one that we went over on stream on Thursday, right? Samware blamed for the attack. Vulnerabilities aided the attack. Okay. Yeah, Kim, I am a subscriber. All right, so we got failed wiper attack. Yeah, why did it fail again? So they got on, and it was very opportunistic, right? They were like, "Oh crap, we better use this vulnerability before it goes away." Targeted 2 combined heat and power plants as well as management systems. Wait, where did we read the opportunistic stuff? Yeah, right here. The systems the attackers targeted play a role in monitoring function, maintaining grid stability. They appear to be opportunistic rather than fully targeted and well planned. So they were like, holy crap, look at all this stuff, right? Look at all this access we have. Did the Maduro weapon ever get confirmed? A sound or light weapon? They said it was U.S. Cyber Command that took out the power before that kinetic stuff. Have you read the Sandworm book yet? I haven't. Is it good? Is it good? Let me put it on my list. I was thinking about doing. I'm launching a. I'm launching a community off of my newsletter, and I was thinking I would do a book club as part of that community. I'm going to a bookstore tonight. I'll see if they have this. Oh, Andy Greenberg. I know Andy Greenberg. Oh, of course. Yeah, I knew this book. Andy Greenberg's great. Reads like a novel. All right. I'll grab this. I'll grab this tonight. I'm literally going to a bookstore later. Sandworm, A New Era of Cyber War and the Hunt for the Kremlin's Most Dangerous Hackers by Andy Greenberg. If you guys don't know, Andy Greenberg is a journalist for Wired. What else has he written? That's by far his most popular book. Tracers in the Dark, The Global Hunt for the Crime Lords of Cryptocurrency. Damn, that sounds good too. And This Machine Kills Secrets. Oh, that's Julian Assange. Cyberpunks in their fight to empower whistleblowers. The Lords of Cybercrime. Damn, he's written a lot of books. Go Andy Greenberg. Andy does really good work for Wired. Audiobook's awesome. All right, good to know. I like having a physical book because I'll put it on my bookshelf behind me. But even a lot of times I buy them both. All right, so we've got that one. We've got this one. It was like a follow-up to that report. Got this one. We've got this. Okay, so this is the crux of what we're going to talk about. This does talk about Sandworm. Working set. What up, Jamie? Oh, everyone say hi to Jamie. Those of you that don't know, I've been doing this like camera talkie news stuff for a very, very, very long time. And one of my first gigs out of college was for that James Arlen name that just came through. And I was his little security intern collecting news stories for his blog called Liquid Matrix back in the day. And then we did what, like 150 episodes of a podcast together? We did a lot of weekly podcasts on security news back before people got paid for that kind of thing. We made no money doing that. We spent money doing that for Liquid Matrix way before podcasting was cool. We're talking 2010, 11, 12. I can picture the rooms I was sitting in, so I'm trying to figure out where I lived. I used to record on like a really weird little mic on my bed so that, people could still watch TV in my house. Monero will be decrypted by quantum computers. Yeah. Quantum's going to change a lot of the crypto stuff. All right. So what else? You did so much free writing for Bill. Bill was there for sure too. Schmoobus. Bill and James are two of the first people I've ever met in person in cybersecurity at the same conference in 2009. All right, what are we talking about? Sandworm has attempted to exfiltrate information from Telegram and Signal encrypted messaging applications via physical access obtained during ops in Ukraine. This activity extends back to 2023. All right. What's the gist of this before I get into it? So the gist of this whole threat intel report is kind of to draw the parallels between, modern warfare existing both digitally and kinetically, which of course, right? Of course. Consistent effort has been dedicated to targeting defense entities, compromised defense contractors alongside military assets and systems. So it's not just like, oh, they hacked this rocket launcher software or whatever, right? They're also trying to get into the actual humans that work at the companies that are providing, this stuff. What do I mean kinetically? Kinetically is like physical warfare. Bullets, rockets, missiles, drones. Kinetic, right? So what we're talking about here is that there's a huge digital component now to modern warfare, which sounds a little obvious, but we're kind of just now seeing the first major conflicts where they are straight out using no holds barred, whatever they can do on a digital landscape, right? We've kind of seen the shadow cyber war stuff going on for a long time, China, US, whatever. Yeah, not physical human force. Kinetic meaning kinetic, right? Hi, Bill Curmudgeons. Yeah. I love you guys. But digital meaning as part of actual warfare efforts, not China espionage type stuff, right? We have straight up during a conflict that there is kinetic operations for, there's also massive digital ops going on at the same time, right? So we're direct targeting of employees and exploitation of the hiring process at defense and aerospace contractors, right? So this isn't just attack people who are holding weapons, on the other side of some imaginary line from me. This is, we are getting, North Korea and Iran are getting people hired at companies that are supplying nations with defense capabilities, along with private sector stuff as well. So cyber espionage, as that's not new. Intrusions over the last 2 years analyzed threat activity from China. Nexus groups continue to represent by volume the most active threat to cyber espionage. Not a shock there, right? In comparison to Russian Nexus threats observed on the battlefield in Ukraine, these could support more preparatory access to R&D theft missions. Lastly, contemporary national security strategy relies heavily on the secure supply chain, right? We've talked a lot about this. Supply chain is a broad term that historically has meant a lot of this physical manufacturing and logistics stuff, but also obviously now goes to the software supply chain. Remember that changing the physical reality and changing the apparent reality are both methods and dangerous. Yes, 100%. This is why information warfare is so super. But that video about Anonymous, the title and content mismatched. What do you mean? Video about Anonymous, title and content? Since 2020, manufacturing has been the most represented sector across data leaks site. I didn't know that. That's kind of surprising to me. And I'm someone who reads all these freaking reports, the data breach incident report and everything. I read all of this stuff. And I did not have it in my head that I did not have it in my head that manufacturing is the highest represented ransomware target or data leak site. Google Threat Intel tracks associated with ransomware and extortive activity. While dedicated defense and aerospace organizations represent a small fraction of similar activity, the broader manufacturing sector includes many companies that provide dual-use components for defense applications. Right. So if you're just a manufacturer, you're not classified as defense or aerospace, but you make a little valve or widget or something that then gets used down the line in defense or aerospace thing. The ability to surge defense components in wartime environment can be impacted even through these. Yeah, this is you look at World War I and II history, the reason the outcomes were the outcomes that they were was because of the ability of places like the U.S. to just ramp up. Everyone underestimated how much the U.S. could ramp up manufacturing capability, right? That was the major wrong assumption. The video talks about general cybersecurity, not anonymous internet, like the title says. Rename the title to match other weekly cybersecurity videos. Oh, Galaxy. Yeah. So that was just I'm trying to do the schedule the YouTube live thing so people know that I'm going live in a few hours or whatever, and they make you pick a title. So I did try to do the main topic that I was going to cover. Oh, wait. It still shows that I see. So that's still my title, huh? Can I change that? That's a good question. Can I change the title while I'm streaming? Can I edit the title to say live this week in cybersecurity with mattjay? Can I do that? Save? Does that work? Thanks for the reminder. I forgot that that was a thing. All right. I think I did it. Restream is weird, but good call. My title. I have moved on from that topic. That makes sense. Thank you. I was like, no, what are you talking about? I did talk about the death of the anonymous internet, but I'm done. That was World War II. World War I was just deadlock and trenches. Yeah, you're right. Sorry. But just World War II, just like the straight up like miscalculation of like how much straight manufacturing power the U.S. had was like a big thing. So what they're talking about here is even if the ransomware activity, extortive activity is not classified as defense and aerospace, but manufacturing is the number one, that does have downstream impacts, right? So longstanding Russian targeting critical. So this is the sandworm stuff. So I can talk about this, right? In Ukraine and beyond is multifaceted. Tactical level targeting is brought in to include individuals. That's an interesting part, right? So they're not just straight up hacking power plants. They're hacking individuals who might have access that they would like, right? Due at least in part to reliance of public and off-the-shelf technology rather than custom products. So they're able to hack individuals because people are just using phones, right? So they have exploits for things. So they're like, oh, well, you're just using stuff that we have exploits for. So threat actors have targeted secure messaging applications using Ukraine military is using to communicate and orchestrate military operations through like known secure public, messaging apps. So if they have an exploit for it, they can use it. This compromise of individuals' devices and accounts poses a challenge in various ways. For example, such activity occurs outside spaces that are traditionally monitored, right? So it's like that guy's phone over there is not monitored. It's not in, a controlled military site, but, that's what they're hacking. So it makes sense that they would pivot that way. It's the same reason corporations are getting hacked like that, right? LastPass had a major breach a few years ago, and the way that the attackers got in was one of their employees was using a Plex server at home to watch pirated movies, and Plex had a vulnerability. And so the threat actor used a Plex vulnerability to get on the employee's home network, which of course they eventually turned on their corporate device at home, and they were able to, hop over onto the corporate network, right? So of course, if this is happening in private sector stuff like that LastPass one, which was just a public example that I can think of course it's going to happen in Russia. So then we're talking about Sandworm. We have continued to observe the group making attempts. A Windows batch script responsible for decrypting and exfiltrating data from Signal desktop, right? So Signal is end-to-end encrypted. So a lot of people are like, oh, Signal was compromised. Look, here's this example. Tucker Carlson or Russia did this or whatever. No, they compromised the ends. They didn't compromise Signal. It's end-to-end encrypted. If you can compromise an end, that all devolves, right? And a lot of times those desktops are easier to compromise than, those iOS devices. iOS devices, harder to compromise for a variety of reasons. It's a much more sandboxed controlled environment than a lot of desktops out there running Windows. So if you're running Signal for Windows, you better have your OPSEC on that Windows box tight. Otherwise, this whole end-to-end encryption thing just kind of becomes moot, as seen literally right here. Temp.vermin, an espionage actor whose activity Ukraine Computer Energy Response Team has also linked to security agencies via the use of lure content themed around drone production and development, anti-drone defense systems, and video surveillance security systems. So this is a phishing site, I'm guessing. Leveraged by temp.vermin includes domain and masquerading as Telegram and involve broad aerospace themes, including domain that might masquerade as Indian aerospace company focused on advanced drone technology. So this is a lure. For what? Its collective efforts have included the use of questionnaires hosted on Google Forms. So again, these Google sites don't usually get blocked by things, right? Purports originated from a drone training academy, conducted malware delivery operations via these messaging apps. So all of this stuff is just to build trust to then land malware on these devices, right? Is that what it's saying? Yeah, leveraging Android malware, website spoofing, Ukrainian military AI company, just to get malware on their device. So that makes sense, right? Signal dangerous? No, Signal is great. BitLocker gave your keys to law enforcement. Yeah, of course they did. Of course they did. If you have to log into your Google account or your Microsoft account to like access something, of course they're going to comply with law enforcement. Of course. The BitLocker one was kind of annoying. I will talk about it. What is this one? 5792. Russian espionage cluster exploiting secure messaging apps. So there's just a bunch of apps going after, a bunch of different threat actor groups going after Signal. But again, they're doing it by going after the devices, right? Leverage WhatsApp phishing pages, other domains masquerading as Ukraine defense contractors. Yeah. Another suspected Russian espionage actor, active since 2022, targeted secure messaging apps. So we don't have to like keep going into all of these. Starting in January 2025, another Russian espionage cluster, phishing campaign, delivering malicious remote desktop connection files. These are interesting. Credential harvesting infrastructure, spoofing aerospace and defense firms. Wider phishing activity included drone-themed lore content. All right. So these are just all different lures. So, okay. So we don't have to go into each single one of these. I think just the overarching theme is like, hey, phishing is on the table in modern warfare, period. And targets are not just soldiers or military targets. They are anybody who's in anywhere in the supply chain. I think that's kind of it, right? Hacktivist targeting of military drones. So that's different. A subset of pro-Russian activist activity is focused on Ukraine's use of drones on the battlefield. I've seen a lot of footage from this of like drones kind of flying, you know, kamikaze style into stuff, right? So not those big drones dropping missiles, like little like hobbyist drones with explosives on them, just like flying into stuff, right? I've seen stuff like that. Pro-Russia hacktivist collective KillNet dedicated significant threat activity to this. After announcing the collective's revitalization, the first threat activity claimed by the group was an attack allegedly disabling Ukraine's ability to monitor its airspace for drone attacks. This focus continued. Someone is coughing in my office. I don't know if you can hear the coughing, but I want to yell at this person to get the out of here. A, don't get me sick. B, I just am listening to you cough all day. This focus continued throughout the year, culminating in December announcement. But like how? I wish there was a little bit more information about this. Like what attack possibly could have disabled Ukraine's ability to monitor its airspace? That's pretty significant, right? This focus continued throughout the year, culminating in a December announcement in which the group claimed to create multifunctional platform. We further detail in the next section of operations from pro-Russia hacktivists. Okay, employees in the crosshairs. So this is a huge thing, the HR process, right? So I've made a ton of videos about this North Korea thing. The TLDR, if you guys are new here, right? North Korea is cooking both sides of the job market, absolutely cooked. On one side, they are getting hired by companies. So they are putting out fake LinkedIn profiles. They're using AI pictures to like make themselves look like somebody else that might have had the AI profile. I call it save spawning the interview process because they don't care which person on their team gets hired by a job. They just want one person on their team to get the job. So they'll have someone go in, interview, get all the answers to all the questions, basically get all the questions, figure out the interview process. And then the next person goes and they kind of know what's going to be asked generally, right? And they have a better chance of doing it. And then maybe it's a third person, maybe it's a fourth person. It doesn't matter. There's these pretty large teams that are trying to get hired, right? And so they're just kind of sharing information. They're all physically sitting in the same place a lot of the times. These are like companies. They look and operate like companies over there. And then the other side, they're actually putting out fake job listings targeting developers, specifically developers that might be involved in like cryptocurrency type stuff. And then during the interview, they will force the developer to download something, either a fake Zoom update. Imagine if you're on a job interview and they say, hey, your Zoom's not working, here's an update. You're probably going to just trust them. Or they'll make them download fake VS Code packages or other like tools to, if you're like supposed to be writing code live on the test and they say, hey, download this, and we're going to have you use this as part of the interview, you're just going to listen to them. And so then they get malware on the developer's device. And because of the nature of the job listing, a lot of times those developers have crypto wallets that they drain and they're using to fund a lot of their government operations via crypto. They've stolen like 3 billion crypto a year, 2 billion cryptocurrency a year in order to do this. This is literally revenue generation for them. It's how they're funding a lot of their stuff. And they're doing this via the first side, they're doing this via laptop farm in the US, which is just nuts, right? So like you mail your corporate laptop to an address locally that you think is the person you just hired, and it's actually just a laptop farm that's collecting all these corporate laptops, hooking them up, and giving remote access to them in North Korea. It's nuts. It's gross. Yeah, they install malware in the interview. Yeah. Malicious extensions and install them. Yeah. There's tons of malicious extensions. It's just how do you get the trust to get the people to install them? The industrialization of job campaigns. So this is the first part I was talking about, right? They get hired via laptop farms. And then this is the second part. So they're targeting different employees by kind of offering them jobs, is what I think is about to be said. Employment themed social engineering is what they're talking about. So APT 45, that's North Korea, targets South Korean defense, semiconductor, and automotive manufacturing entities based on historical activity. Where is it? Infrastructure mimicking German. I saw this too. The German and U.S. defense related entities, they make like fake sites pretending to be a German defense contractor with fake job listings. Yeah, deal. This is one of them. Consistently focused the defense targeting. Has used Gemini to synthesize open source intelligence and profile high value targets. Mapping specific technical job roles and salary information. So they're using AI to like better create job listings that seem accurate. The recon activity is also used to gather information tailored for high fidelity phishing campaigns. Yeah. Iran threat actors using recruitment themed campaigns to target aerospace. So Iran is taking this page out of the North Korean playbook, right? Since at least 2022, they've used spoofed job portals, fake job offer lures, as well as malicious resume builder applications for defense firms, some of which specialize in aviation, aerospace, and drone technology, to trick users and personnel into executing malware, giving credentials under the guise of legitimate employment opportunities. So here's a hiring theme spear phishing email from Iran. Hi, according to arrangements we made, your profile information has been sent. Use them and follow the instructions to complete the hiring procedure and receive the job description. After that, we will talk about the interview date. And that's it. It's just a lure, right? Here's the job description. Fake job offer on behalf of DJI, a drone manufacturing company. I also have microphones based on DJI, right? Yeah, they're posting jobs, US, Germany, for sure. They use AI for creating professional phishing pages and LinkedIn profiles. Should you be insulted that a foreign government hasn't tried to hire me on one of these schemes? I thought the same thing, Lee. I'm like, man, why haven't I gotten recruit? Maybe I have. I ignore a lot of LinkedIn nonsense. Maybe I have. Yeah, here's like a fake job listing. China Nexus actors target personal emails of defense contractors. This is like one of the scarier things, right? So if cybercrime was targeting like Plex servers of employees of LastPass. That wasn't even nation state level stuff. Now we have nation states who are like keying up to like, well, we can just grab the personal emails of defense contractors and then pivot, right? That's nuts. So the lures were meticulously crafted to align with targets' professional roles, geographic locations, invitations to industry events such as CANSEC, or some military conferences, Society for Human Resource Management, Red Cross training courses, phishing emails designed as job offers. So China's in on this, right? Alumni tickets for university minor league baseball team targeting employees who attended that university. Nasty. Emails referring community service verification form for a local high school near one of the contractor's headquarters. So it's like some high school student did community service for the contractor and they needed you to sign off on it. Open letters to Boy Scouts of America camp or troop leadership targeting employees known to be volunteers or parents. Holy crap. So you're a defense contractor and you're like the den mom of a Cub Scout troop. Well, guess what? China is using that as a phishing lure too. That's nasty. Some ways we should be happy that the focus has shifted so hard to social engineering. Yeah. Yes, Lee, I've been saying this. Like, I was like, we did it. AppSec, congrats. We solved AppSec because no one's using it anymore. AppSec is just not used in breaches anymore. It's just straight up social engineering and phishing. Did a podcast this back in June. Small business, cybersecurity guy. Hell yeah. Small biz, cybersecurity guy. I know Accidental CISO does that too, right? Is that you? Isn't Accidental CISO do the small business podcast stuff? Or are you guys just talking about similar things? Do you know who I'm talking about? Is that you? Sorry if I didn't connect the dot. You've been in chat a few times. Russia hacktivists targeting. Doxing remains a cornerstone of pro-Russia hacktivists. This isn't even state sponsored. It's just like state aligned people being hacktivists who are then doxing Ukraine defense contractors and military officials. And China doing cyber espionage on these edge devices is insane, right? Like we're just all waiting for the day that China decides to use all this access that they've gotten, right? So we have dozens of 0 days being used against edge devices, and then they don't do anything with it. So, and they're doing it on devices that generally don't have EDR on them, right? Because they're in a security appliance. You can't install your EDR on the appliance. You can't install anything on the appliance, right? So Brickstorm has just been found everywhere because of this. Yeah, here it is, as I called it. Dwell time of 393 days. So they got this malware on these devices, and since these devices have no monitoring software on them, they just sit there. It's insane. What's 6508? Oh, it's another China threat actor targeting defense contractors and military platforms. Hack, leak, and disrupt of manufacturing supply chain. Yeah, that's gnarly. Threat actors also regularly share or advertise illicit access to stolen data from aerospace defense contractors. This is a crazy long threat intel report. It says a lot of the same things over and over again, but it's crazy how much evidence they have of this behavior that's like really been ramping up lately, right? Yeah, what is this? This is a cool thing. DDoS attacks, attempted intrusion, doxing, hack, and leak. Pro-Iran, hacktivism, conclusion. With specific risks vary by, while specific risks vary by geographic footprint and subsector, the broader trend is clear. The defense industrial base is under a state of constant multi-vector siege. The campaigns against defense contractors in Ukraine, threats to or exploitation of defense personnel, the persistent volume of intrusions by China nexus actors, and the hack, leak, and disruption of the manufacturing base are some of the leading threats to the industry today. Whoo! All right, should we bang out a quick one on this? Now that I kind of know what we're talking about. I think so. What's the key takeaway? What's the key takeaway? Lee or Jamie? What's the key takeaway? Oh, it's Jinkies. I put on Twitter, I said, I'm starting to think the war on encryption and the push for all of us to give our IDs to websites has nothing to do with protecting the children. Someone said, we're on to something, Scooby. I said, Jinkies. Not 3, sorry. Russia, safe harbor, dangerous to the U.S. The FBI cannot stop it. Yep. All right. How to prevent AI agents API key leaks. That's a good article. Harden fixes, code showing vuln versus fix. Proxy layer, isolate real keys, sidecar proxies. Agent never sees the real key. That's the right way to do it. I don't know if you can achieve it with a lot of these agents today. I don't think a lot of people have the technical aptitude to use the agents that are coming out, like ClaudeBot or OpenClaw, and do what this person is saying. All right. I'm going to record. We'll record on this one. Let me shut Slack down so I stop getting notifications. We're all doomed. Small Biz, are you accidental CISO? I don't know if you heard me. Did I miss this? Did I miss your answer? Nope. Oh, it's not you. I saw you. Sorry. Just scrolled up. Do you know who I'm talking about? He does the Mindfulness Business Security Show. That's right. Call-in radio style podcast for small business leaders. Here you go. I thought maybe you guys knew each other. Accidental CISO. I've talked to him online for a long time. So you just saying the small business cyber podcast or whatever. I was like, wait, what? I've given him questions or answers or something like that a while ago. All right. What should the key takeaway of this thing be? $5 million bug bounty. Oh, this guy, I saw this video come across my YouTube the other day. It was like some guy being like, how I made millions of dollars from cyber. Was your podcast with him? No, it wasn't. All right. We're going to go through, we're going to talk about the state of modern warfare and how it matters even if you're not in the military, because we're going to see over and over again that private sector is doing all this. You are aware, yes. Okay, cool. Sorry, small biz cyber. View socket dev will give you supply chain. Oh, I've made so many videos about socket, sockets, blogs, and research. I've had Faraz on the channel, the founder of Socket. I had come and chat with me about some of it. Oh, they're talking about OpenClaw skill marketplace. That's cool. I don't know if they don't have an answer to it though, right? Yeah. They're just saying, this is scary. Yeah, Socket's awesome. All right. We're going to record about this. Just a quick little banger. On this stuff. It won't be long. We just went through it. We're just going to talk about how, I'm saying this to myself more than you guys. We're going to talk about how it doesn't matter if you're in like the warfare industry, you're not in the defense industry, you are part of the new threat landscape when it comes to cyber warfare. We're going to go through all the examples that we have here, right? What are my main... I had some main points. Battlefield, tradecraft, hiring pipelines, edge devices, and supply chains and hacktivism. Those are kind of the buckets as I see them. That makes sense, right? Yeah, let's do it. Huge CVEs, even 2 months in. Yeah, there's been a lot, man. There's been a lot. 2026 has not been slow in the security news business. All right, we're going to record again. If you hate this, I'm sorry. I love you. I'll hang out with you guys for a little bit after. I'm going to stay live for a while. I might order some food, but I'm going to stay live for a little while longer. And this will be the last thing I record. So, okay. It shouldn't be news to us that modern warfare includes a huge cyber component to it. It's not just kinetic. It's not just drones. It's not just missiles and guns and everything that you think of when you think of like an urban battlefield. Obviously, cyber warfare has been going on a very long time, but Google Threat Intelligence just put out a report that just stacks evidence on top of evidence on top of evidence of the latest playbooks in cyber warfare. And this video, this matters to everyone because what you're going to see is that they're not just targeting defense contractors or people on the battlefield or soldiers or industrial control systems or trying to hack things that only have military significance. They're doing it from every angle possible, including hiring pipelines, fake job interviews, fake HR departments. There's hacktivism going on with doxing and all sorts of stuff. So everyone is on the table to be hacked in the lens of modern cyber warfare. So let's get straight into this threat intel report. First of all, Google has put out a number of these. We've done a few videos based out of Google Threat Intelligence Group. This is considered must read. If you're in this industry, just save this blog to your RSS reader and consider them must read. They put out the playbooks that they're seeing out on the internet. So thanks, Google. They talk about beyond the battlefield, threats to the defense industrial base. So the main thing that I want to get across, and then there's just going to be piles of evidence as we scroll through here and examples, and we'll go through a bunch of them, is just that the individual is one of the main targets now, right? So it's not just hacking into the power grid, which, by the way, they're doing at scale. We'll get to it, but they're also going after the individual contractors alongside those military access and assets and systems. This is where we're starting to see a lot of new information and new behaviors come out. And we're not talking like the, shadow cyber war of China, hacking into companies and government entities to do espionage. We're talking about actually part of conflict. And so whether or not you're like a war nerd or like super involved or invested emotionally or intellectually in the Russia-Ukraine war, and I don't want to reduce warfare to a learning exercise. For me, that's very reductionist. There are very real consequences and people losing their lives over what's going on, and I would like to hold space for that. But what we're going to do here is we're looking at a live conflict that is happening in order to learn what modern warfare could look like, as the other great powers kind of stared down the barrels of the gun at each other, specifically China and Russia and the West, when it comes to, things like Taiwan or China hacking into a lot of US or EU, critical infrastructure and just sitting there and using it. We're going to get to a lot of it, okay? The other thing that they're talking about a lot is the North Korean playbook that we've talked about on this channel about the hiring pipelines and how North Korea is cooking both sides of the job market. Well, it turns out other governments are following suit there as well. And then we're also going to talk a lot about supply chain, because supply chain is a very fuzzy word, and it's talked a lot about in manufacturing supply chain. And then we as cybersecurity professionals have decided to start to talk about it as software supply chain. But somehow we're talking about both today in this, especially when it comes to things like hacktivism. And then we could talk about a lot about the edge devices and how China specifically is leading in the volume of attacks against edge devices. So first and foremost, let's talk about Russia, because we have some recent examples of their behavior in the war with Ukraine, and then also their behavior in the power grid of Poland. So I want to talk about that one first, because it's actually more interesting to me. And we talked about this on live stream the other day, last week on Thursday, but we have a little bit more information. So Russia recently just went out and attacked a bunch of Polish power grid systems. And they did so, there's some really good reports by Dragos, but this one that I'm reading is by 0 Day by Kim Zetter, who wrote the book on Stuxnet. So she has a lot of information about industrial control system hacking. But the attack that we're talking about today was Russia finding a lot of vulnerabilities that were opportunistic against these Polish grid systems. They almost stumbled upon them, got really excited, exploited them, got access, and then tried to deploy malware known as a wiper to just scorch earth and actually disrupt the power grid. But that second part of the attack actually failed. So they got access, but they weren't actually able to disrupt the power grid like they thought they were going to. What they actually hacked were these control systems that are all using the same technology, so all had the same vulnerability and exploit that were able to be attacked. What does RTU stand for again? Remote terminal units. So what they hacked are these things known as RTUs. These are remote terminal units. So these are not the actual industrial control system themselves, but they're attached to it, and they're used to monitor and control the actual equipment. About 10 years ago, this same group, this is Sandworm out of Russia, if you follow your favorite threat actors, they were actually able to successfully pull off this disruptive attack in Ukraine and shut the power down. But this time it was a failed attempt. Drago says this operation was rushed. Drago says this operation was rushed. They can't assess on specifically why, but they think it was because they found these vulnerabilities. They realized how widespread the vulnerabilities were across, it says 30 different sites of different types of energy sources in Poland. And I think if you're the threat actor, you're like, oh, I got to use these vulnerabilities while they're still here. Then they got in. And at that point, they didn't have as much recon on the other side of these RTUs to be able to successfully, run the exploit, run that wiper. I'll link a few articles. There's a few articles. Kim Zetter's and Dragos is the best, but there's some few news articles talking about Sandworm's recent activity here. So Google is obviously considering them as part of, this modern warfare campaign, but that Polish misfire is not the only activity that they've been up to. One of the main themes you're going to see through this entire threat intel report is these government entities going after secure messaging applications like Signal or Telegram, if you call that a secure messaging application. Telegram is not encrypted end-to-end by default. It does have options to go there. And then their groups are also unencrypted and not secured in the same way. So you can go watch my video comparing Signal and Telegram and WhatsApp and all that if you're interested in the differences. But let's go with Signal for now because it is, one of the better end-to-end encrypted messaging apps, and Russia is absolutely targeting it. So what they're doing is actually capturing physical access to the mobile devices from soldiers in the Ukraine, and then using that physical access to spy on these Signal chats that are being used in military operations, right? So Signal is end-to-end encrypted. And so when people read this, they say, oh, they've compromised Signal. They can read these chats. No, they've compromised one of the ends, right? So it's end-to-end. You got an end. That's it. The message is encrypted, but you have one of the ends that they're encrypted to. So we have example after example of different threat actor groups that all of these threat intelligence firms are, monitoring and attributing behavior to, exfiltrating information from Telegram and Signal via physical access to devices obtained during operations, right? This is just going to show up over and over again through this thing. The other bit, and this is why I kind of warn people off of these secure messaging apps, all kind of have desktop apps too. Well, turns out if you're running Signal for desktop or Telegram for desktop, desktops tend to be easier to compromise than iOS or any sort of mobile device. If you look, just recently there was a story about iOS's lockdown mode stopping some spyware or even the FBI from getting information off of a journalist's device. You don't have the same kind of thing on a Windows box, right? So there's going to be more vulnerabilities. There's going to be opportunities for you to be running an unpatched version of Windows more so than there is in iOS. And so again, if you're installed Signal desktop app, guess what is the other end in end-to-end encryption here? Is that Windows box, which could be more easily infected with malware. The next kind of theme in this threat intel report that we're going to talk about is lures. So this is where you start to get out of the I only need to be worried about this if I am, in this kind of conflict. No, now we get into they're using military themed lures in phishing campaigns, right? So we have malware being deployed by nation-state actors that are posing as some of these drone companies. So this one is a lure content themed around drone production and development, anti-drone defense systems, and video surveillance systems. They're going to distribute parts of this lure via legitimate websites, right? So these are things that aren't going to get scrutinized by different filters. Google Forms is going to be allowed on most networks, right? So if they're doing something via Google Form or via, these other lures like this, all these things are doing is building trust for you to trust the person that sent it to then whatever that 1-2 punch is to deliver some malware. So in this case, it was this threat actor was leveraging Android malware that was being tracked. They were using these lures to get onto Android devices via sideloading. Here comes the long tail of evidence. We're not going to go through every group, but all of these different threat actors that are tracked by Google doing the same stuff. Compromised Signal accounts via device linking feature. This is a little bit different. This isn't physical access, right? So they sent its targets an altered group invite page that redirects to a malicious URL. A lot of times there's a QR code here and you're linking a device to your Signal account. WhatsApp has this too. And this group, again, it's hacking Signal and WhatsApp, not via physical access, now via device linking. Let's see real quick if this has an example of that. Do we have a picture? Yeah. So really quick, bringing up the thing that they linked over here from last year about this kind of attack, because a bunch of Russia-aligned threat actors are using this capability. So this is what it would look like. You get invited to a Signal group. This is a modified Signal group invite hosted on their controlled domain. This was signal-groups.tech was their phishing domain at the time, right? But then what actually happens there, or they can even give you this QR code. Once you actually do this, you're not joining the group. You're linking a device and giving it permission to access your WhatsApp or your Signal account. Here's another Russian espionage actor, and they're doing a lot of the same stuff. They're leveraging fake Signal group invites that redirect to a website to craft a list to link their accounts to an actor-controlled Signal instance. Here's another group that, what is this one? All right, here's another group that's tied to Russian espionage activity and is conducting phishing campaigns delivering malicious remote desktop connection files. The files were configured to communicate with actor-controlled domains spoofing Ukraine telecom entities. Again, using drone lures, using like, if you're in this conflict zone, you're thinking about drone type stuff, right, going on. And so they're drone themed lure content, such as operational documentation for a specific UAV system. You could tell the kind of person they're targeting here with these lures. So this is a repurposed PDF document used by this threat actor to say, hey, look, this is the user manual for this drone or whatever it is. The kind of person that's interested in that is the kind of person they're trying to deliver malware to. Here's another Russian espionage cluster conducting malware delivery via WhatsApp using themes related to Delta battlefield management platforms. And the examples just keep on coming. One of the points that they make right here in the middle of this threat intel report is that LLMs are helping build these phishing lures and phishing sites. We have data from the LLM providers that this is how threat actors are using their platforms. When they catch them, they do shut them down. They do have like platform guidelines to try to chase this stuff and shut it down. Anthropic has released some transparency threat intel. OpenAI has done the same. Google has done the same. They're basically saying, hey, a lot of these threat actors are using LLMs the same way you are to like craft emails or websites or code or whatever it is, but they're doing it for nefarious purposes. So the main point why I wanted to make this video, not just like targeting, actual battlefield operations, is that we are seeing this net broaden to employees, right? Which is much more likely you listening to this. This is just a much bigger group of people that could be targeted during this. So let's go over really quick. I know I've made dedicated videos about this North Korean operation, but just the real quick summarization if you haven't watched those. So North Korea is cooking both sides of the job market. So on one side, they are putting out fake job listings and trying to hire people into fake jobs. And on the other, they are getting themselves hired as threat actors and espionage people into companies, Western companies, both in the EU and the US specifically. They're doing the latter by actually running these laptop farms. And they're also, one of their operations, I like to call it save spawning. So they don't care which person on their team actually lands the job. They could have 5-6 people on the team. So one person goes to the interview, maybe they do well, maybe they don't, but they have all the answers to the questions. But they know what questions are going to be asked. So then the second person goes, and then the third person goes. And you're upping the likelihood that someone on the team is going to get hired by this company. And then when the company goes to send the corporate laptop, they have people that they are paying in the US. There's people that are in jail right now for getting caught for doing this because they are running laptop farms out of their US-based address. So you as a company thinks you're hiring a remote employee, you mail this laptop to a US address in Tennessee or in Arizona, like the two examples I'm thinking of. And really what you're doing is mailing to one of these residential laptop farms. These people are accepting corporate laptops, opening them up, and then letting the North Koreans actually install remote control software on them, and then just leaving the laptops open in their living room and connected to power and internet. This is rampant how many spies the FBI is finding in US companies, hundreds of them. On the other side of it, they're actually running fake job description campaigns. They're trying to hire developers, specifically developers in industries that they might be able to generate revenue from or might have defense sector access. So they'll put up a job. A lot of times it's around crypto, Web3 developers. And then once the person gets on the job interview, what actually happens is they will get them to install malware via the trust of the interview. So they'll say, hey, the Zoom isn't working. You need to install this Zoom update. Here's this executable file. And the Zoom update is just malware. Hey, we're going to go through a coding exercise here. You need to install this extension in VS Code so that, we can do whatever it is, this scenario that we're going to do in this coding exercise. And the VS Code extension is actually malware. And a lot of times they're crypto themed. They're like smart contract extensions or Ethereum related extensions. And once it gets on, and the kind of people that they're interviewing generally do have crypto wallets on the devices that they are interviewing on because of the nature of the job. And North Korea actually drains the crypto wallets to use to fund a lot of their stuff. And you can imagine if you're in an interview, you're trying to get a job and they're like, hey, right now you got to install this before we get off. What are you going to do? Right? This is another area that LLMs have popped up. We have evidence that some of these threat actors have used Gemini to synthesize OSINT and profile high-value targets to support campaign planning and recon. So it's just another way that they're using AI. The recon activity is used to gather necessary information to create tailored, high-fidelity phishing personas, identify potential targets, and they also use the AI to figure out the right job, requirements and salary information that would be expected that they might not have. Here's a German defense contractor deal that was targeted by one of these campaigns. And I've talked about North Korea doing this a fair bit, and they're doing it a lot to steal crypto to fund a lot of their operations. Well, we also have our Iran joining the mix as well, and they're doing this almost solely as far as espionage concerns, right? So they're using spoof job portals, fake job offer lures, and malicious resume builder applications for defense firms, and some of which specialize in aviation, aerospace, and drone technology, to trick users and personnel into executing malware, giving up credentials. So they're doing it much more in espionage focus. North Korea is doing it more in revenue generation focus. But, and I absolutely love threat intel reports that give us examples. Here's an actual spear phishing email sent by Iran. Hey, according to the arrangements we made, your profile information has been sent. Use them and follow the instructions to complete the hiring procedure. Receive the job description. After that, we'll talk about interview date. And all of this is just building trust. Here's the job description, fake job description on behalf of DJI, a drone manufacturer, just building trust to execute malware. You got to imagine if you're in a desperate financial state, you're trying to get a job, maybe you got laid off, and you get targeted by something like this, you're going to jump through whatever hoop they send you in order to get the job, period. So it shouldn't be news to us that China threat actors are engaging in a lot of cyber espionage. But what is kind of interesting to talk about here is that broadening of the net of where more normal people are targeted by this in their personal emails. So even if you do something, maybe you're not a defense contractor, but maybe you work in manufacturing or something, some sort of financial tech that's related loosely to government activity. Well, China might be actually targeting your personal devices, your personal email. We have examples of them using emails targeting certain university people with alumni tickets. I even saw this one where they knew the person that they were going after was a volunteer for their children's Boy Scout troop, and they wrote letters pretending to be the Boy Scouts of America organization, targeting employees known to be volunteers or parents. I mean, this is like whole other level of targeting than what you would think of. Like when you go get hired at a company and they train you to spot phishing on your corporate email, your guard's up, you're using your corporate device, your guard is up, you got all this EDR and software on there monitoring what you're doing. But what about your phone? What about your personal computer? What about your spouse's personal computer? This is the level of, that nation states are going to get into the targets that they want to get to. We have examples of Russia doing super similar. So we have doxing is really coming out of hacktivist organizations. Not a lot of nation states doing a whole lot of doxing, but they probably aren't too sad that pro-Russia hacktivists are doing a lot of this. And then the intel report goes right into this edge device stuff that I was talking about. So over the last couple of years, we've even got up to a dozen different 0 days used by China Nexus actors. And most of them, the vast majority of them, are on edge devices. If you've paid attention to any of the content I've put out, this is not news to you. This is one of the main things that keeps me up at night, is that we have evidence that China has actively hacked into edge devices in critical infrastructure across the US and EU, and then hasn't done a whole lot with that access. But they do have the access. One of the more prominent campaigns, and this is like China really ramping stuff up, is this Brickstorm malware. This is malware that's specially crafted for these edge devices, specifically on things that are like appliances that can't get your security monitoring software on them. When you get an appliance from a vendor and stick it on your network, you don't really have access to just install whatever you want on that device. And that's what a lot of firewalls and VPNs are, right? You're getting this device, you're putting it on your network, virtual machine or a pizza box that you screw in, and you don't have a lot of control over it. Well, when you don't have control over it, you can't put your monitoring stuff on it. So what does that lead to? Is crazy long dwell time. So dwell time is how long from the point that the malware got on the device before they were, eradicated and kicked off the device. We have over a year of China threat actors using this Brickstorm malware to just sit on the devices and just collect all the information that whole time. Then we get to supply chain. So one of the things that this report opened my eyes to, I didn't realize, is that manufacturing is the number one industry that's impacted by ransomware or extortionate type threat actor campaigns. I didn't realize. I'm someone who reads a lot of these reports, and I knew that it's always up there, but I didn't realize that it's the number one. But then what it also talks about is, maybe a lot of those manufacturings aren't also classified as aerospace or defense contractors. It says just 1%, but a lot of them have downstream components of those manufacturers. So if you're a manufacturing site and you're making valves or widgets that then somehow end up down the line being used in defense, you're not considered aerospace and defense in the statistics of things. But as far as like cyber war or warfare is concerned, you are absolutely part of the supply chain that would be of interest to these nation states. So it says a significant 2025 ransomware incident affecting UK automotive manufacturer. You guys remember? It was like Jaguar Land Rover, right? But they also produced military vehicles. It disrupted the production for weeks and reportedly affected more than 5,000 additional organizations just in ripple effects. This highlights cyber risk to broader industrial supply chain. Yeah, absolutely. This is, where the stats kind of tell a different story. The rest of this report kind of goes into hacktivist activity, pro-Russian, pro-Iran, hacktivist operations. They start to do stuff that the nation states tend to not, right? A lot of DDoS attacks, a lot of doxing, a lot of hack and leak campaigns meant to endanger people that are in kind of the defense complex, right? If we can leak information about defense contractors in Ukraine, they're going to do that kind of stuff. What else do we want to talk about? I think this sentence in the conclusion just puts a bow on it nicely. So I'm just going to read it directly. While specific risks vary by geographic footprint and subsector specialization, the broader trend is clear. The defense industrial base is under a state of constant multi-vector siege. I think that's just the best way to put it, right? Is this multi-vector and constant. This is what advanced persistent threat means. It's just this is forever, and it's nothing is out of bounds. I don't care. We talked a little bit while I was getting ready for this story on stream about how LastPass got hacked in the private sector, and it was via one of their employees was running a Plex server to watch pirated movies at home, and the Plex server had a vulnerability in it. And they pivoted onto their corporate device and then onto the corporate network. If that can happen in cybercrime at something like LastPass, you got to believe that nation states are starting to use this, and pretty much everything is on the table. All right, what'd you learn from this? I learned a few things. I didn't know about that manufacturing thing, and I didn't quite realize how broad of a net things like China were doing, like that Boy Scouts of America lore. That's a pretty nasty one that I hadn't seen before. If you like this one, click all the buttons down below. Really appreciate it. Support the channel and follow for more cybersecurity news. All right, cool. We're off. And you guys are back. Thanks for hanging. What's up, Roman? You got here while I was recording. I don't know if you're still here. Morning, Jessica. Sorry, I was ignoring chat. I wasn't ignoring chat, but we were recording. Look at that. I did 2 YouTube videos while live. That helps a lot because I get busy and it is hard to put out enough YouTube videos. Let me upload this to Drive. What do you think a name on that one is? The future of warfare is cyber. That's a pretty good name, right? Pro YouTuber, watch out. I've only messed up every stream that you guys have come hang out at. I haven't really been advertising that I'm live streaming a whole lot because I kept effing up. And I traveled last week for Tuesday. So my normal Tuesday, Thursday schedule that I'm trying to stick to, I was like, oh man, I'm already going to be on the road for Tuesday. McMedden, thank you. Thank you. Roman, how you doing? Yeah, I think I've ironed the kinks out. So I think it's time to start making noise that I do this. Yo, happy Tuesday. So if you guys are new here, I'm going to do this every Tuesday and Thursday morning that I'm in town. And I'm going to record a few YouTube videos while live. If I go live for 4 hours, maybe I'll do these little 30-minute segments here and there, you know? No, I flew to California. I was at Palo Alto Networks headquarters filming a bunch of content with their team about their quantum stuff. So I had a bunch of their quantum experts. Man, I had this guy that I watched. They did a quantum summit themselves, and I was kind of I'm doing a AMA afterwards, basically asking them about their quantum summit. And the one guy that I was talking to, the person he talked to at the Quantum Summit was a Nobel Prize winner. That's wild. Yeah, I'm in Austin, Austin, Texas is my hometown. So yeah, I just went out to California to do quantum stuff with Palo Alto for Monday and Tuesday, and then came back. I learned a lot about quantum, man. Talking to those experts, talk about imposter syndrome, right? That the guy before me was a Nobel Prize winner. And it's hi, I do YouTube videos. No, it's wild. No, I didn't go to Intellicon. So first of all, I didn't know that Intellicon was happening until that day. And I had just gotten back from California. I had a pretty bad I don't really get anxiety. I've had mental health things, and we can talk about it. I'm an open book about it. Anxiety is not usually debilitating for me. It's a thing that I deal with probably more than the average bear, and it does go hand in hand with depression stuff that I've definitely dealt with. But man, I've had such debilitating anxiety in the last few weeks. I've got a lot going on that I'm trying to go through, and so to the point that I was waking. I couldn't sleep. I was awake at 3 o'clock in the morning every night. Man, I gotta pull it up. It was wild. You know how your Apple Watch health score stuff. my sleep score. I think I got like a 20. And that just messes you up, man. Like for days, I was like 3 days in a row. I slept for crap in the hotel due to anxiety stuff. And so Thursday, I got home Wednesday night. And so Thursday morning I went live because I missed my live Tuesday. And Thursday's stream, you guys could probably tell I was a very different person, right? I was very distracted. I didn't record any videos because I just like couldn't get the energy. I just like my brain was not firing on all cylinders. I came and like read some news stories with you guys, and I was like, oh, that was not my best showing. And I finally got some sleep that night, like Thursday night, Friday night. I slept really good this weekend. And oh my God, I like felt my nervous system like go regulate back to normal this week. I was literally driving somewhere on Sunday and I said it. I was like, oh my God, I was really going through something. I wasn't just like anxious. I was like, that was crazy. And so, yeah, in Telecon, long story short, I did not have, like I had Thursday, I live streamed for 4 hours and then I wrote my newsletter and a few news articles and stuff like that. And I was just trying to get the newsletter out the fucking door, man. I was like, oh, maybe I'll go try to meet up with some people, even if I can't go to that conference. But dude, I stopped exercising weeks ago at this point, and that is a huge red flag for me and definitely a huge detriment. So that not just, yes, I usually do fuck up exercising when I travel, but I'm like weeks off of my routine. I had some family health stuff go down that everything's fine, but it completely bombed our family like routine. So like usually it's like drop the kid off at school, go to the gym, like whatever. None of that was like happening the right way. So, no, I know. I walked home from work yesterday. Literally, I said that. I was like, man, I haven't done crap. I got to put this energy somewhere, right? Have you guys seen that? You know that YouTube guy that does like all the animated videos, but on science topics, and it's like a German word. What is it? Kurzagat in a nutshell. And then he's got a video. Where is it? He's got a video about like, I think it was about like exercise. Stop it, brain. Where is it? He's got a video about exercise and how like we're wrong about it, basically. And he talks about how like you're not actually like burning calories the way that you think you are. Man, was this over a year ago? Where the hell is it? What up, Killa? Kurzagat. Yeah. Kurzagat exercise. He's got a video about exercise I want to put in here. We need to rethink exercise, updated version. I've got a screenshot. When was this? It was a year ago. I'll put it in chat when I find it. Exercise. Yeah, here it is. Got it. Here. I don't know why Command V doesn't work in OBS. That's so annoying. So this video, really good video, really like taught me a whole lot about it's like your calorie burn in a given day and like how exercise doesn't really add a whole lot to that because your body like seeks equilibrium. So like, yeah, if you exercise 30, 60 minutes, whatever, like doesn't matter. Your body will find a way to like burn less calories like elsewhere. So it's like your total like output of calories in a given day doesn't change a whole lot due to exercise. But what exercise does is like put all that energy that your body would use doing bad mental health things, anxiety, depression, but then also B, like storing energy for fat cells and stuff. It's putting it into the exercise, not just straight calories in and out. Super good video. Super good video. Not one guy, but a team. I know. I always say that because it's just the one narrator. And I'm sure does the narrator even work like on the videos, or is he just a voice actor? I don't know. But it's just this, it's been the same voice for so many years. I'm always like, yeah, it's this guy. Can't really exercise unless you're feeling okay. Yeah, it's a vicious cycle, right? Like I feel so much better when exercising, but if I don't feel good, especially mental health wise, it's like effing impossible. It sucks. It's a vicious cycle. Talk about safe dev, secret manager for secret management, environment instead of environment variables. Yeah, Vault. I was a big Vault guy. Body calories got hacked. Hell yeah. Fast walk 5 minutes. Yeah. That's what I do. It's like, that's like my little step, right? It's like, okay, just like walk home, walk to work, something like that is like better than nothing. But boy, when I am on my weightlifting junk, does everything else fall into place, right? Sleep better, anxiety's better, depression's better. It's like, man, just go lift heavy stuff. Meditating or grounding, not as often as I should. I've gone through spits and spurts where I did it a whole lot. I was in a really bad way a few years ago, so I went to like a retreat center for a lot of that stuff. And one of the things that they were big on was like sound baths and whatnot. It's a little woo-woo for me, but you know, I'm not really into like the crystals and energy stuff, and I'm not sure like the vibration part of sound baths has anything to do with anything, but just like using that as a tool to like properly meditate and like be mindful and all that stuff, man, like it worked up some stuff. If you're talking about grounding, like the grounding mats, like those cables and shit, or like barefoot, no, I don't really mess with any of that. Check your testosterone. I did, and I thought that I was like, man, I bet it's going to be testosterone. I'm of that age. I've had, you know, I'm now 3.5 years sober, but I drank heavily for years in my, 20s and 30s. Diet was crap. I was like, ooh, testosterone's going to be it, right? And I checked it and it's fucking fine. I was like, oh, that's going to be it. I'm going to like, and then we're going to know what it is. No, it's fine. I check it like twice a year and I'm like expecting it to be the problem, and it's not. Moonwalk for 5 minutes. 3 things you hear. Oh, yeah. I was trying to do that, man, when I was having the breakdown last week. Couldn't help. Estrogen, I forget. All my hormone stuff was fine. But my blood work has been shockingly okay. Come on. I'm like refreshing my email. I'm waiting. You know that waiting for an important email thing? Just refresh. I thought I had one more story to talk about today. No, I already talked about the iOS rat. Do we want to just chill? We want to just yap? You guys want to ask me questions? You'll email me when you're ready. When you're ready for what? So guys, I am trying to put some work into starting a community off of VolnU, right? And so I want to use Slack as the thing because we all already have Slack on our computers, right? So I want to, I think I'm going to buy this software, this tight-knit company. I met the guy who runs it, and I know some companies who are doing it. It basically like levels up free Slack, because I can't do premium Slack because you have to pay per user, right? So if all of a sudden, if I have hundreds of people in there, all of a sudden I'm paying thousands a month to Slack. So this Tighten thing kind of levels up Slack and stores all of the threads on like this community website like this. So people can either interact with Slack or via web browser like forums. So you get like that long history, because free Slack, that's the big thing, is like 90-day history. You lose. And so this, you kind of get this website as part of it. And then and then the other thing that Tighten It does is like gamifies stuff. So I can do like badges and whatnot, like Discord, and then I can run events through there. So I can have like guest speakers come in. So I figured what I would do is like very practitioner heavy community, and try to get like, you know, if an incident goes down, try to get someone who's like led incident response on an incident like that, or that incident, to come and like talk to the community about like what it is that they are doing in you know, against that threat actor or whatever it is. That's kind of what I'm thinking, right? It's like very practitioner heavy events, maybe a couple times a month for Slack. You like it? All right. Cool, Roman, because you know I'm going to tap you to like help moderate or something like that. Because you're always down. Memory safety issues still today. Yeah. No way to pay Discord. Yeah, I don't really like running Discord as a community, because a lot of the people that I would try to invite are like more professional people, and Discord has got like a little bit more of that, like, you know, scrubby hacker vibe, right? How should I say your name? Ambi? Should I say Ambi? You've been very active in chat all day. I just didn't know how to say it. Discourse. Why does that sound familiar? Where tech companies build communities. Okay. Yeah. So the thing that I really don't want to do is send people to another site. Manda. Okay. Got it. School, Circle, Mighty Networks. It's like people have to go to those other platforms. I kind of want to meet people where they're at. So that's why I was trying to do this Slack thing. It's like a lot of people have Slack on their box already. School also is like, have you pulled up School? It's like very scam heavy, right? It's a lot of like that very Andrew Tate vibe stuff, right? It's very like how to get girls and make money. School of Mentors. Dating with Gracie. Alex Hormozy on their front page. Obviously, he owns this shop, right? I don't know. Like, just by association, I don't really want to be on School. And I just don't want to send. No one's gonna go. Like, I pay for this newsletter. Since newsletter is a main part of my business, I found this like premium newsletter community to like teach people to do newsletters better. And they run it on Circle, and I don't go. I just don't go to that site. I'm not like, that's just not a site I sit and hang out on, right? So every once in a while I remember, let me go look at that community, or I'll get an email about a thread and I'm like, let me go look at that community. And I'm like, you know what I mean? So I think Slack is the way to go, because at least most people have it. Other cyber communities on Slack, not really like premium ones, right? Like, I'm in a fair bit of Slacks that are more like threat intel type sharing, kind of invite only type things. Wiz does use this tight knit company. Wiz does use Tightknit for their like user group or whatever it is. So that's like a cyber community that uses Slack. I think their biggest customer is Cody Sanchez. If you know Cody Sanchez, like small business person, I think she runs her community through this Tightknit thing in Slack. It seems like it's cool. It seems like it's got a lot of cool features. It's like $500 a month for 1,000 users. So it's not cheap, but you know, if I'm charging for the community and it's like threat intel and education, if I can do like cohorts, you know, it's kind of like this premium Volnu thing. I don't know. We'll see. I don't love asking people for money. I want to ask people's bosses for money is how I always say it. But so I figured I would do like Code Crafters has this. Have you seen Code Crafters? Code Crafters has this page. Here, I'll pull it up. Where's the browser? So Code Crafters has this. So if you just go to Code Crafters, if you go down, it's got this expense thing. And it's like they write the letter to your boss of like, I'd love to join this. I have a learning and development budget per engineer or whatever, right? Like it costs price. Would you? It's like, that's pretty funny, right? It's like how to do it. Zach Emmer Efford Dayton just subscribed. Thank you, Zach. Speaking of legendary incident responders. So if you guys don't know Zach, him and I have been giving presentations together. We talked at PAX West together. We're talking at PAX East together. Code Crafters is like a learn to code website or whatever. Zach, do you mind if I out your employer? I don't know if you want me to tie your YouTube to your employer. You're public. You give talks under your own name. So Zach is with the illustrious Unit 42 at Palo Alto Networks, where I just was out this week. Having nothing to do with Zach, completely different team. But Zach's a Unit 42 incident responder legend. Go follow him everywhere. He's also my gaming homie who somehow talks me into playing shooter games that I would never play, but I just want to hang out with people. Whoa, this is so cool. Look at this. How cool. I want this in my house. I want a Mewtwo in my house. You want 1 million subscribers in my channel? Not 21.6. You and me both. YouTube's hard, man. YouTube's hard. How cool is this freaking Mewtwo thing? Where is that? I want a life-size Mewtwo pod. Did you also see, I saw a video of someone order a life-size like terracotta soldier. Like the terracotta army in China. I was like, that would be cool to have in your house. The big terracotta soldier. Microsoft 365 went down? Is it up now? It was down? Are you guys 365 shops? Whoa, a tweet just got deleted from that. I was like pulling up their Twitter. Whoa, what is going on? Every time I look at this tweet, it like disappears. We're investigating an issue. Microsoft 365 Admin Center. More information provided. 37 minutes ago, we've remediated the issue. That's wild. Just an average Monday. It's Tuesday. Have you ever watched the movie Why Him? If I had crazy cash, I'd be just like bro. What movie? Why Him? No, I don't know. GitHub went down. Yeah. I saw GitHub went down. I saw the guy that writes OpenClaw was like, I can finally get some work done because GitHub went down. Ooh, wait a second. I wish I recorded this on the video that I just made. Guys, let me get this on the screen. Oh man, this article just came out. Look at this. North Korean hackers targeted an official at a cryptocurrency company with several unique pieces of malware deployed alongside multiple scams, including a fake Zoom meeting. Guys, we just did a freaking video about this. We just did a whole 30 minutes on this topic, and this article drops. I wish I had it. Mandiant published detailed examination of a recent attack, financially motivated attacker. The attacker initially contacted victim through Telegram using compromised account of another cryptocurrency executive. So they used a compromised executive's Telegram. We just talked about this, right? How they'll use a hacked signal or Telegram to then perpetrate, to continue to send the malware elsewhere, right? The victim was sent a Calendly link for a 30-minute meeting from a trusted Telegram account in their contacts that contained a Zoom meeting link. The victim reported that during the call, they were presented with a video of a CEO from another cryptocurrency company that appeared to be a deep fake. Well, that's just sloppy. While Mandiant was unable to recover forensic evidence to independently verify the use of the AI models, the reported ruse is similar to previously reported incident. When the victim was in the meeting, the attackers claimed there was an audio issue. What did I just say? This is what they're doing in job interviews. And they say, can you take several actions? The issue was a ruse to cover a click fix attack. So in this case, the victim was directed to a web page with troubleshooting directions for Mac and Windows. Okay, so instead of, hey, here's an executable, download this malware, which is a Zoom update because we can't hear you, they did click fix on it. And so they sent them a troubleshooting for the audio issue, which included a string of commands, which is click fix, right? The victim followed the troubleshooting commands. Zach, why does click fix work so much? I wish there was more studies on the economics outages. Yeah. Zach, why does click fix work so much? The first malicious files, which Mandiant called Wave Shaper and Hypercall, are backdoors that allowed the attackers to install other tools that expanded their foothold. Mandiant said found two different data miners used by the threat actor called Deep Breath Chrome Push. Deep Breath enabled the hackers to steal credentials, browser data, user data from Telegram, and other data from Apple Notes. Oh no, not my Apple Notes. My deepest secrets are kept in there. The malware compresses all of the information into a zip archive and exfiltrates it to a remote server. Chrome Push is a malicious tool made to look like a harmless browser extension. What is this attack? This attack has all of my favorites. Are you serious? It's got fake browser extensions, click fix, fake job interviews with fake Zoom problems. This is like a combination of 7 YouTube videos that I've done on each of these individual parts, all in one attack. Are you effing kidding me? But the tool actually records keystrokes, trackers, usernames, steals browser cookies. Holy shit. The incident responders noted this attack involved an unusually large amount of tooling dropped into a single host. No joke. All of these are different attacks. Each one of these things are by itself. They just threw the kitchen sink at this guy onto the single host, targeting a single individual, leading them to believe it was a specified attack designed to steal as much information as possible. Jeez, enabling cryptocurrency theft and fueling future social engineering campaigns. So did they do it? Did they get this guy and steal a bunch of crypto because he's an exec at one of these companies? They don't say. Literally, they're like, oh, and they've used different parts of this in different parts of attacks. Holy shit. Zach, have you seen that all at the same time before? Or anyone in here? I have not seen all of those things at the same time before. I literally just made a video like, oh, this one has everything, like Stefan from SNL. This club has everything. People always are the weakest link. Human psychology. Click fix still works because people click everything. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's kind of nuts, right? That like Windows Command R, Command paste type stuff. I guess I get why it works. It's just like you would think running commands, but people just don't even know that they're running commands, right? Computers are still opaque, black magic boxes. Yeah. You haven't seen this combo, right? Holy shit. I got to send this to our group chat. What? Come on, give me. How can I not find this? What is it? TheRecord.media. I'm going to put this in our Signal group. That's nuts. Holy crap. I said kind of nuts. Kitchen sink of attacks altogether is what I sent the group. That's freaking wild. Man, I just made the video on this topic. I should have included that. I could have included that if it came out already. All right. I'll put that in the newsletter. What is this one? AI agents. All right. Take this with a grain of salt as I put it on screen because it's put out by an AI security company that I'm sure protects against this kind of thing. But they're saying exfil from agents in messaging apps has become much more popular. The link previews is what they're saying is the attack method here. With previews enabled, user data can be exfiltrated automatically after receiving a malicious link in an LLM generated message. All right, so what does this look like here? Indirect prompt injection via malicious links isn't unheard of, but typically requires victim to click the link. The same technique is used against the AI agents while operating inside the messaging platform, such as Slack or Telegram, where link previews are enabled by default. Link previews, data exfiltration can occur immediately upon the AI agent responding to the user without the user needing to click the malicious link. Link previews pull metadata from the website. The whole attack chain can be accomplished with zero interaction. That's gnarly. That's gnarly. Zero click prompt injection. So yeah, it is social engineering against AI, but usually they'd have to like do the thing. Oh God. I didn't mean to open that. Someone just texted me this. I didn't mean to open a link raw on stream. Whoops. OpenClaw dissected. 50 critical vulns. I'll believe it when I see it. This is like the third time I've seen the sky is falling critical vulns about OpenClaw. Yeah, this feels like bullshit. My bullshit detector's going off. Good for them for submitting PRs, but like, this doesn't look like actual stuff. I don't know. I'll look in that. I got a buddy who's like hard down the open claw path. So he's texting me every scary thing that comes up, but he's like actively using it. One thing I wish I could banish from my RSS feeds are startup raising fund announcements. Every time a startup raises money, they hit me up and they're like, will you include this in your newsletter? And I'm like, no. No one's interested. Congrats on paying your bills another 6 months. And I'm like super plugged into VCs and investors and startups, and I love founders and I love that whole ecosystem. But like, I'm not like, oh, let me read all this stuff. Seen this campaign yet? China Nexus infra takedown across 37 countries. Yes, I did. I covered that. Zach, I covered that on stream on Thursday, I think. I know this is your first time here. Thank you for hanging out. But yeah, I did cover that one. Today's stream is 3.5 hours. Yeah, it is a little longer. I have something at 12:30, so I will see. Oh, I'm live right now, just FYI. I'm live right now, just FYI. It's all good. My teleprompter just got delivered. Thank you. Closes the door. That's my assistant. Water? Oh, are you reminding me? Water? Yeah, thanks. I did drink a whole bunch of coffee already. WFedEx. Water stream. Oh, man. Who raised? I got Rico, who's a customer of mine, sponsor of mine. So congrats, Rico. I know a bunch of people there. And Vega. Rico raised 30 million. Vega raised 120 million Series B. I don't know. I guess I shouldn't be so cynical. Good for them. It's hard to raise that much money, especially in today's ecosystem. Singapore says China-backed hackers targeted its 4 largest phone companies. That's interesting. Singapore usually fairly neutral, right, on the world stage, because so much stuff is there. Singapore confirmed the first time that that the hackers known as UNC 3886 targeted the country's telecom infrastructure, including the largest companies Singtel, StarHub, M1, and Simba. Imagine having 4 big telecom companies that you could choose from. Wouldn't that be nice? Intruders were able to breach and access some systems. They did not disrupt service. Man, Mandiant is all over the news today. What was the attack? Hackers use advanced tools like rootkits to gain long-term persistent in their systems. Gain limited access to critical systems, but did not get far enough to be able to disrupt services. I wonder if this was Brickstorm. We adopt defense in-depth mechanisms to protect our networks and conduct prompt remediation. Blah, 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 blah. I want to know what the attack was. I don't know. I did get the Elgato prompter. When I built my whole studio setup, I bought the XL prompter just thinking, oh, bigger equals better. It's too big. I would have to like move my monitors way far apart to fit it. So I bought the Elgato normal size small prompter. I think the big one's meant if it's like across the room, you know, if you're like on the news on TV and it's like across the room. But I sit like right in front of my camera, like, hi, you're all right here. Oh, that's cool. Ooh. So I can like see it. You jelly looking at that one? Yeah, I don't really script. I didn't think I needed a teleprompter because I don't script anything. Like I don't read off of a script. Like right now, I have a sponsor asking me for a script for their next YouTube video, and I'm like, I don't do that. You can't have it. But once I found out that on the Elgato, you can actually just use it as a second monitor. So I can like drag the news story that I'm reading and sharing my screen. I can drag that onto the teleprompter. Then that starts to make sense, right? It's like I can be making a whole, like right now, I'm like looking off to the side. Right now I would be able to just be looking like directly at you guys while I'm reading the news. So I'm going to do that. Useful for sponsorships or keeping bullet points on the camera. Yeah. What's that game? What's what game? And yeah, you can make purchase suggestions for sure. Rats in the Machine, a Pakistan-linked three-pronged cyber assault on India. Nation states are hot on it right now, man. After major Poland energy grid cyber attacks, CISA warns U.S. audience, of course. That's why I talk about it. This is the lessons learned. This is why we pay attention to modern cyber warfare. Reynolds ransomware embeds BYOVD driver to disable EDR tools. That seems a little too specific for us. Chinese crypto scammer sentenced to 20 years after fleeing U.S. I kind of like reading about these scammers getting popped. Set up a VM in Azure and opened it to the world. Had most all traffic from Portugal. Yeah. Portugal and Brazil are pretty big on like IoT botnet stuff. What is this one? Responsible for laundering $73 million in stolen funds was sentenced to 20 years in prison, but the sentence was delivered in absentia after the defendant cut off his ankle monitor and fled the country. Whoa. In November 2024, pled guilty. Several others led an international pig butchering scheme that saw people in Cambodian scam centers steal millions from Americans through an assortment of romance and financial scams. Guys, I have been getting so many messages from people whose relatives are falling for these romance scams right now. It's really sad. Like their elderly parents. I've got like 2 or 3 really close friends whose parents have given like $30,000 or $60,000 to these romance scams. It's like their retirement money. It's fucking nuts. And like one of them, he keeps DMing me. It's like a childhood friend of mine I haven't talked to since I was a kid, but he knows what I do. And he hit me up on Instagram. He's like, hey man, my mom fell for this scam and she like won't believe us that it's a scam. We've like cut off her credit card. We've cut off all of her financial access. And she's like, she thinks that we're wrong and that this person is whoever they're pretending to be. And like, they are like hook, line, and sinker. Oh man, it's just gut wrenching to think about. And he's like, do you have anything, like any way that I can help? And I'm like, I don't have any magic way to like convince your mom. I was like, send her my video. If she remembers me as a kid, maybe she'll listen to me. I send her like FBI stuff or whatever. What up, Nightcry? I didn't see you here yet. Knowingly common in all dating apps, trying to lure you with crypto scams. Yeah. It's everywhere. these people are just like falling for this. So it's always good when these scam centers. Did you see that big one go down? That guy, there was like a whistleblower that escaped. I think Andy Greenberg did the story on it, right? Whistleblower scam center. I think it was Andy Greenberg. Is this paywalled? Oh, unfortunately, it is. All right. We're not going to pull it up. But basically, Wired got this whistleblower that was like held captive in a pig butchering scam center. And he got like tons and tons of like pictures and stuff. The guy's on Twitter. Like the whistleblower's on Twitter. Kind of nuts. 3 hours, man. Yeah, too much work today to relax and enjoy cyber news. No worries. Thanks for coming in and saying hey. Socket dev. Yeah, I'm a big Socket fan. Pretend to pick up, change your number. Yeah, he could do all that. I don't know. He's done a lot, and they're pretty persistently convincing her that they are who they say they are or whatever, right? Where did this guy flee? The court sentence reflects the gravity of Lee's conduct. 20 years, right? He was arrested in April at Atlanta Airport. He led the effort to launder the money once it was sent by the victims. He and the other co-conspirators would open U.S. bank accounts through shell companies that could hold the money. Prosecutors asked for the judge for a significant sentence. Yeah. Yeah, China's been killing people that they pull out of Myanmar for this. It seems like they're trying to crack down on this. I mean, it's been a multi-billion-dollar industry for the past few years. Right? The FBI published like $6 billion for people over 60 years old gave to this last year. It's kind of nuts. Malicious GitHub workflow steals your GitHub secrets in your repo. Yeah. That NPM stuff is gnarly. SAP Critical Vuln came out today. If you're an SAP customer, Germany warns of state-linked phishing campaign targeting journalists and government officials. Yeah, it's kind of the main topic of the day, right? That's just another example. Singapore spent 11 months booting China-linked snoops out of telco networks. Oh, that's that same story. The zero-day rat malware is a pretty gnarly one. I'm going to put this in chat for you guys. We talked about this earlier. This one's pretty gnarly. For those of you who missed it earlier, this is like this new spyware for Android and iOS that just popped up like a few days ago. It's not zero click. It requires you to fool the user, but it's like pretty gnarly. Just like sold on Telegram level bot, rat packages. The exploits are packaged with it too. So as long as you can get people to download it, it is an exploit. Fortinet patches critical SQL injection flaw, of course. Ivanti 0-day. Jesus Christ. Ivanti, Fortinet, and what was the other one I said? SAP. I mean, it's just like the 0-day factories are busy pumping 0-days out today. TransUnion real network deal focuses on robocall blocking. Good. Threat actors stay eaten for sure. All right, guys. 12:30, I think, is time to call it today. 3 hour, 45-minute thing. I think the first 15 minutes didn't actually work on YouTube. I got to figure out how to do that whole scheduled thing on YouTube. I tried to do it on my phone today in the mobile app. I think that's what really screwed it up. I think it was expecting me to go live from my phone. So I just like tried to do it while live. No, I'll go live Thursday as well. Tuesday, Thursday mornings are the definites, and then I might throw in kind of like surprise bonus ones when I can. I don't think this week is one of the weeks that I can do surprise bonus ones. I've got a lot of like after hour stuff, but Tuesday, Thursday mornings are my definite blocked off unless I'm traveling. And I don't think I'm traveling on a Tuesday or Thursday until RSA now. So probably not Wednesdays. Wednesday's my maybe day. So Tuesday, Thursday mornings, like from early in the morning until lunch for sure. And then if Wednesdays aren't crazy, I'll do a little. Maybe that's when I'll do the AI ones. Was that you, Roman, who was like, let's do AI streams? Maybe I can do tomorrow. Maybe we can do AI Jam tomorrow for a little bit in the morning. Maybe. Yeah, maybe like an hour. So, you know what? Call it 9 to 10 tomorrow. We'll do an AI stream. All right. And then Thursday we'll do more of the normal security stuff. Then next week I think I'm going to have a guest. I'm going to have a guest come on who's a threat intel founder here in town, who's like starting a new AI powered threat intel company. And we're just going to jam. It's not going to be like a sales thing or whatever. He's not paying for it, but he's in town. He's a homie, and we're going to jam about what he's been building about threat intel. So he's going to be physically in the studio. I'm going to set up another mic for him and stuff. So we'll jam. Jay Cran, if you guys know Jay Cran, he was like a bug crowd guy for a while, and then he built a threat intel product that he sold to Mandiant. Tell him to hire. Yeah, heck yeah. If any of you are working and I can help connect you to someone, or if you're looking for jobs and I can help connect you to someone, please hit me up. Like, send me a DM with your stuff. I'll pass your info to whoever. I don't care. A lot of people are trying to hire. All right. I got people waving at me to come to a meeting I'm 2 minutes late for. Roman, you're gonna work for me. That's what's happening. David, thanks for stopping in. I'm just about to shut down stream. Sorry. Thanks for hopping on. All right, guys. I will do tomorrow. We'll do 9 a.m. I'll grab coffee. We'll do AI tomorrow, 9 a.m. Central, for a little while. And then yeah, I'm good. And then, oh my God, Friday. What the fuck? I get to meet one of my team members, one of the people that works for Volnu but doesn't live in Austin, and I've never met them. They're flying in to crash and hang out. So let's get into the stream. Just you waste the time. Yeah, I do. I just yap. All right, guys, cool.